Chapter 553. Sushi looked at the person hiding under the blankets and rolling away. For a moment, she was startled. She thought that he would be furious when he woke up, but who knew that he would hide under the blankets and roll away? He was even more embarrassed than her, who had lost her virginity. Looking at the person hiding under the blankets, her thoughts moved. Thinking of his ostrich mentality, since things had already reached this point, if she didn't add more fuel to the fire, he would probably shrink back again. Thus, she held back the smile on her face and didn't call out to him. She just quietly sat by the bed and watched. Old Master Feng, who was hiding under the blankets, was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. He actually took thinking of the red marks on her body when she was completely naked in the spring scenery that he had thought was a beautiful dream. He felt his nose begin to bleed again. He had cultivated his heart for so many years. Ever since his wife passed away, he hadn't touched another woman. Now, he couldn't protect his integrity. If his son or phone girl knew about this, his old face would die from embarrassment. But he had slept with her. No matter what, he had to give an explanation, right? Thinking of this, his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. He felt as if he had returned to his youth. When this feeling appeared, it immediately made him feel ashamed. What should he do? Why was it so quiet? Did he not hear her voice? His heart was filled with doubt and uneasiness. He carefully pulled open the blankets and poked his head out. He looked towards the bed and saw her sitting there with red eyes. She lifted her sleeves and gently sobbed. Seeing this, his heart suddenly tightened. He lacked confidence and timidly called out, Sushi? Sushi put down her sleeves and looked at him with reddened eyes. She gently bit her lips and faintly looked at him. Brother San Yuan, I gave you my pure and innocent female body. Do you want to deny it? If you really don't want to marry me, then I'll go tell Big Brother right now and have him send you back. I won't bother you anymore. Saying this, she got up and walked out. No, Sushi, don't misunderstand. He quickly grabbed her with one hand and hugged the blanket with the other as he stood up. Looking at her red eyes, he sighed in his heart and honestly said, I didn't mean that. Nothing? You never thought of marrying me, did you? I know you don't have me in your heart, so you let me wait for you. I waited for you for decades, but you didn't move. Since that's the case, I'll let Big Brother send you back now, so you don't have to keep thinking about your son and granddaughter. No. I have you in my heart. It's just that Old Master Phone was so anxious that he didn't know what to say. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. As expected, drinking was a bad thing. If he wasn't drunk, things wouldn't have gotten out of hand. Why are you guarding this courtyard? Is San Yuan awake? Old Master Feng, who was holding the quilt with one hand, heard his sworn brother's voice outside. He was so scared that his face turned pale and his voice trembled. Oh no. Big Brother is here. Why is he here so early in the morning? Chapter 554. At this moment outside the courtyard, a few hidden guards had strange expressions, but there was a smile in their eyes. They looked at the family head and said, Aunt Sue, she is inside. Lin Boheng, who was about to step inside, was startled. He thought he had misheard. He looked at the hidden guard and asked, What did you just say? Who's inside? Aunt Sue, she. Hearing this, he opened his mouth and pointed inside. Sushi? Yes. Just as he was startled, he heard a familiar voice. Big Brother. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw his younger sister walking out of the courtyard's room. Behind her was Feng San Yuan, who had his head lowered. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth and angrily glared at Old Master Feng. Feng San Yuan, come to the study. After he shouted angrily, he turned around. His heart was filled with joy. The two of them were finally together. Actually, Feng San Yuan's old age wasn't a dead end. If he was a cultivator, as long as his cultivation reached the nascent soul stage, he could regrow a severed arm. This was because once the nascent soul stage was formed, everything was like a new life. Cultivators who entered the nascent soul stage could maintain their appearance at any time. As long as they continued to advance in a limited amount of time, it wasn't impossible for them to maintain their peak state forever. This was also why people with higher cultivation tended to look younger. However, he was a mystic cultivator, not a spirit cultivator. Mystic cultivators could only look 10 years younger when they entered the martial emperor stage. When they entered the martial venerable stage, they could only look 20 years younger. In other words, he had to cultivate to the martial venerable stage in order to look 40 or so years younger. However, he was only at the peak of the martial great master stage. How could it be so easy for him to reach the martial venerable stage? Old Master Feng followed behind in shame. He entered the study and closed the door. He looked at his sworn brother, who was sitting in front of the desk. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. He could only say, "Big brother, I'm sorry. I didn't think things would turn out like this. You didn't do anything wrong to me. You did wrong to Sushi. Tell me, how do you want to deal with this?" He asked in a low voice with a straight face. In fact, this scene was very strange and funny. Lin Buoheng, who was sitting in front of the desk, looked like a middle-aged man with a strong aura, while old Master Feng, who was standing in front of him, shrunk his shoulders and lowered his head. He was like a child in front of an adult, standing there timidly and being scolded. I originally wanted to wait until I became a martial honor before marrying Sushi. At least at that time, I would have more confidence to stand in front of her. However, I didn't expect that I would become like this after drinking a jar of wine. He said in a low voice. Since things had already happened, there had to be a solution. Thus, he lowered his head in shame. I'll listen to Big Brother on this matter. I'll do whatever Big Brother says. Chapter 555. Old Master Feng lowered his head and didn't say anything. He understood what Lin Buoheng was saying, but it was a bit difficult to do. Moreover, these were two completely different things. If a cultivator cares too much about what others think of him, he won't be able to go far on this path. San Yuan, do you know why everyone in my residence is in favor of your marriage with Sushi? It's because they all understand this. As long as your cultivation is outstanding, as long as two people love each other, appearance and age aren't obstacles for two people who love each other. We bystanders can see clearly and understand. You, as the person involved, are lost in it. You really make me disappointed. Lin Buoheng shook his head and sighed. He looked at Lin Buoheng, who wanted to say something but didn't. Lin Buoheng continued, if there were people in my family who didn't support it, it would be one thing, but everyone in my Lin family supports it. What do you have to worry about? You've lived for dozens of years. How can you not understand this? Big brother. Old Master Feng choked up. He was indescribably moved. He knew that Lin Buoheng was doing this for his own good. He was enlightening him. He knew that Lin Buoheng was always thinking for his own good. Lin Buoheng stood up and walked to his side. He patted his shoulder and said, this matter is settled. Big brother will send someone to check the dates and help the two of you settle this matter as soon as possible. Big brother, no. He shook his head and said, what? No? Lin Buoheng heard this and immediately became angry. He glared at Lin Buoheng. Even Su Shi, who was hiding outside with Lin Qingji and eavesdropping, became angry when she heard this. She thought that Lin Buoheng was going to refuse again. She was about to go in when Lin Qingji pressed on her shoulder and gestured for her to calm down and continue listening. Old Master Feng quickly waved his hand and said, no, big brother, don't misunderstand. It's not that I don't want to marry Su Shi. It's just that Su Shi has waited for me for so many years. I want to return to the Phoenix dynasty and let Feng Shao prepare. I want to marry Su Shi grandly and give her a grand wedding. Otherwise, I'll be letting her down for all these years. Perhaps he had been enlightened by his words, but he no longer cared about the difference in their appearances. At this moment, he had decided in his heart that he would work hard in his cultivation and reach the rank of a martial honor as soon as possible. Once he returned to the Phoenix dynasty, he would ask the phone girl to quickly refine some medicine for him to advance his rank. Hearing this, Lin Buoheng smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Good. Big brother is very happy that you have this idea. Ha ha ha. Outside, Su Shi, who was eavesdropping, couldn't help but smile when she heard the conversation inside. He finally agreed. Lin Qingji pulled his aunt outside and joked, Aunt, it's still my idea, right? Uncle Feng will become your uncle. When the time comes, Aunt can't forget your nephew, the great matchmaker. Don't worry, I won't forget you. She laughed softly and said a few words to him before leaving first. At this moment, outside Three River City, a luxurious spaceship landed. After the spaceship was put away, Feng Jiao and the others held Lao Bai's hand and walked into the city. Looking at the Three River City in front of her, she smiled happily and said, "Do you think grandfather will be very surprised when he sees me?" Chapter 556. Hearing this, Feng Jiao was puzzled and asked, "Shock? What do you mean?" After not seeing her for so long, he should be surprised to see her here. Hee. You'll know whether it's a surprise or a shock when you see him. Hui Lang chuckled. An old man was entangled by a beauty who looked like she was in her 20s. If his granddaughter came to find him, he would definitely be shocked. Hearing this, she raised her eyebrows. Would he really be shocked by her? It shouldn't be, right? Should we find a place to stay or go to the Lin family first? Ling Mohan asked and looked at her. On the spaceship, he had already torn off his beard, revealing his original appearance. She thought for a moment and said, "You guys find a place to stay first. As for grandfather, I'll secretly go and take a look." "You'll go alone?" He raised his eyebrows. "It's not easy to enter the Lin family. Then we'll go directly? Catch grandfather off guard?" Her eyes were filled with a sly smile. She suddenly felt that she should give grandfather a surprise. Well, maybe it was really as Hui Lang said, a shock. "We have many people. Let's find it in first. If you want to take a look, I'll take you there later," Ling Mohan said and led her forward. He felt that they should find a place to stay first. "Okay," she responded and called out, "Hui Lang, find out where the Lin family is." "Okay," Hui Lang responded with a smile. The group found an inn and booked the entire second floor. Hui Lang went to find out where the Lin family was. In less than half an hour, Hui Lang came back and said to Feng Jiao, who was sitting by the window on the second floor with his master, "Ninth young master, the Lin family is less than half an hour away. After a few turns, you'll reach it. The Lin family is an aristocratic family here. You can find out where it is by asking around." "Oh, it's not far." She nodded and gestured for him to rest at another table. Ling Mohan picked up some food for her and said, "Eat something. I'll accompany you for a walk later." "Okay." She smiled and nodded. Looking at him sitting opposite her, she asked with a smile, "Since you tore off your beard, should I call you Yama Lord? Or should I call you Uncle?" Hearing this, his deep black eyes fell on her smiling face and paused for a breath. He put down the chopsticks in his hand and looked at her. With a move of his finger, a soundproof barrier enveloped the two of them. It was also at this moment that his deep and magnetic voice unhurriedly came out of his mouth. "My surname is Xian Yuan. First name, remember, don't forget." Xian Yuan Mose, she was greatly shocked. Xian Yuan was a surname of D. It was the most noble surname of the imperial family. Was he really from the imperial family? No wonder there were always people trying to kill him, and the assassins they sent were so powerful. The surname Xian Yuan, even a first-class country, did not have one. They only existed in the supreme 8 great empires. The 8 great empires were above the first-grade great empires. It was rumored that the 8 great empires were floating in the sky, completely separated from the mortals. They were also known as the mysterious Sky City. Chapter 557. Seeing her shocked expression, his lips curled slightly. "So, you also need to become strong. Only by becoming strong can we face the future together. As my woman, you can't be too weak." Feng Jiao's mouth moved, but she couldn't say anything for a while. She only felt that it was inconceivable. The person in front of her was actually a member of the royal family of the 8 great empires. It had to be known that a place like that, with that kind of power, let alone a small 9th-ranked country like them, even a first-ranked country had to look up to them. It's still too early to tell you this. You'll slowly find out about these things in the future. As he spoke, he waved his sleeve and removed the barrier. He picked up his chopsticks and picked up some food for her. "Come, eat more." Feng Jiao glanced at him. She picked up her bowl and ate while digesting this information. This was even more shocking than knowing that her grandfather had such a romantic past. The 8 great empires were legendary places that many cultivators couldn't even come into contact with even if they wanted to. However, such a place was sitting in front of her, and he was a member of the royal family. Xianyuan Mose. This name contained too much information. Master, that seems to be the old master. Leng Hua's voice suddenly sounded in surprise. Feng Jiu looked over. She saw his gaze land on the street. She followed his gaze, and her eyes filled with surprise. It really is grandfather. She put down the bowl in her hand and leaned against the window to look curiously, because at this moment, her grandfather was following a woman in a light green dress in an orderly manner. He even subconsciously fell half a step behind, as if he wanted to distance himself, but the woman reached out and pulled him back to her side. Could that be Aunt Sushi? She blinked her eyes curiously, her eyes filled with excitement. It should be. Xianyuan Mose's gaze also looked at the 2 people on the street. His gaze landed on the 2 people whose appearances didn't match, and he said, "That woman is truly sincere towards your grandfather. A woman from a noble family, with a good family background and character, but she only fell in love with an old man who was already in his twilight years. If it wasn't true love, what was she after?" "Yeah, I think so too." Feng Jiu nodded in agreement. "Although I know that the 2 of them are about the same age. Miss Su, she has maintained herself so well. My grandfather must be under a lot of pressure walking with her." He looked at her, and a smile flashed through his deep black eyes. "Didn't you want to refine the rejuvenation pill? What? Are you backing down? How is this possible?" She raised her voice slightly and said, "I'm just thinking that this might be very difficult, especially since I'm not as good at medicine as I am at alchemy. If I want to develop such a pill myself, unless I continue to study alchemy and reach a higher level, it will indeed be quite difficult." "I don't remember you saying that last time," he said, somewhat amused. She wasn't embarrassed at all. Instead, her eyes were filled with smiles and brilliance as she said, "Yes. However, before that, rather than concocting a rejuvenation pill, I might as well help my grandfather advance again. Although profound cultivation is not as good as spirit cultivation, as long as he reaches a certain level of cultivation, he can also become younger." Chapter 558. This method might be difficult for others, but for you, it's very easy. Xianyuan Mose smiled faintly. He looked at the 2 people on the street and said, "It's hard for others to get a bottle of medicine for advancement, even if they spend an astronomical amount of money, but you can easily make it. Thus, it won't be hard for you to help him advance." Feng Jiu's gaze also landed on the 2 people on the street. His eyes were bright and cunning. "Compared to this, I think it'll be more interesting if we follow them and watch. Grandpa is shopping with a woman. This kind of scene isn't common." Seeing this, he couldn't help but shake his head. "Follow them and watch? You go. I won't go." He didn't have the hobby of following people. Even if he did, he was only interested in her. "Okay, then you can stay at the inn and rest well. I'll follow them and watch." She immediately stood up and called Leng Shuang and Leng Hua to leave the inn and head towards the street. At this time, old Master Feng, who was being held by Su Shi, was blushing. He followed beside her and asked softly, Su Shi, where are we going? Didn't you say you'd accompany me to shop and buy some things?" Su Shi said, "Just now, Big Brother said that he'd send you back in 2 days. But you have to remember what you said. Remember to send someone over to send the betrothal gifts. Don't leave without any news." I won't. Old Master Feng waved his hand and said. Not far behind, Feng Jiu, who was followed by Leng Shuang and Leng Hua, walked and stopped. Sometimes he would stop to look at the things on the side of the street, but in reality, he was eavesdropping on the conversation in front of him. When she heard Aunt Sushi say to send someone over to send the betrothal gifts, she couldn't help but be speechless. Her grandfather and Aunt Sue she had developed so quickly. They were even talking about marriage. She was curious and continued to listen. Then, she heard a piece of news that made her uneasy. "You have to remember that I'm already yours. Don't make me wait too long." Old Master Feng's ears turned red when he heard that. He whispered, "Sushi, we're on the street." "What's wrong with the streets?" "What I said is the truth." "Yes, yes, yes, I know, I know." He wiped his cold sweat and thought to himself that it was fortunate that there was no one he knew. Otherwise, he would not be able to keep his old face. Fengjiu used his fan to cover his mouth that was wide open due to shock. He stared at the little girl selling the fan in front of him, causing the little girl's face to turn red. Young master, do you like this fan?" After a long while, Fengjiu came back to his senses. He calmed himself down and smiled at the girl. "I like it. I'll sell this fan." He gestured for Lung Hua to pay up. She looked at the two people walking further and further away, but didn't follow them. She felt that she had heard two big news in one day, and her heart couldn't take it anymore. At this time, her heart was still beating wildly. She looked at the figure of Aunt Sue, and couldn't help but admire her. This Aunt Sue, she is not simple. Too amazing. She really had to hand it to her. She actually managed to settle her grandfather so quickly. Looking at her grandfather, when the two of them got married in the future, he would most likely be a henpecked husband. "Master, they've gone far away." Lung Hua saw that she was in a daze and whispered to remind her. I won't follow. I need to find a place to rest." She lightly exhaled and patted her chest. Chapter 559. Seeing that it had been some time since they returned to the inn and there weren't many people at the small tea stall in the corner, she nodded, "That's fine." Then she walked over and sat down at a table in the corner. "You guys sit too." She gestured with one hand under her chin. "I was worried that grandfather and Aunt Sue, she wouldn't be able to get together, but I didn't think that these two would act so quickly. It seems that I was worried for nothing." Lung Hua poured a cup of tea for her and said with a smile, "If Master knew about this, he would probably be shocked." He, of course. He would never have thought that grandfather would be so happy here. Grandfather isn't honest. Since he was fine, he didn't even send a letter back. He made us worry for so long. She took a sip of tea and said with a teasing look in her eyes, "I wanted to give grandfather a nice surprise, but looking at the situation, forget it." I saw that even his neck turned red when he was by Aunt Sushi's side. Since ancient times, it's hard to accept the kindness of a beauty. This saying is really true. She tapped the table with one hand, thinking that since grandfather's feelings had found a home, then she would have to pay more attention to his father and mother. It would be best if the whole family could be reunited. Only then would they be happy. What's that smell so good?" She sniffed the air and said, "It smells like chicken." The old man at the small tea stall smiled. Young master's nose is really good. Just now, when a person walked past with something, you could smell that it was chicken. This is a famous delicacy in our 3 cities. It's called fragrant roasted chicken. It's in a shop 2 streets away from here. There are only 100 of them every day, and they're all sold out. Does Master want to eat it? I'll go buy it." Lung Hua said with a smile and was about to stand up. "I'll go," Lung Hua said, indicating for him to stay and follow his master. "And if there are, buy 2 back and bring them back to the inn to eat later." "Yes, sir," Lung Shuang replied and left after asking for directions. Lung Hua stayed by Fengjiu's side, quietly accompanying her. From time to time, he poured tea for her and watched her ponder over something with one hand on her cheek. However, as time slowly passed, he still did not see his sister return. He could not help but feel a little surprised. He stood up and went to the old man of the small tea stall. "Old man, you said that the shop is not far from here?" "Yes, it's not far. It's just 2 streets away. It's very close." The old man smiled and continued to work. He asked, "Sir, would you like some more tea?" "No need." Lung Hua shook his head and asked, "How's the store doing? Do you need to exclude them?" The old man waved his hand and said, "Usually not, because the fragrant roast chicken is not cheap. Ordinary people won't buy it often. If he sells 100 roast chickens, it will take him until the afternoon." Hearing this, Lung Hua returned to the table and said to Fengjiu, "Master, my sister hasn't returned yet. Why don't I go and take a look?" The distance of 2 streets should not be so long. Moreover, his master was still waiting here. If he had not been delayed by something, He should have returned long ago. Fengjiu came back to her senses and noticed that nearly an hour had passed, but Leng Hua had not returned. She stood up and said, "Let's go together. We've been sitting here for a while." Chapter 560. She didn't come? Fengjiu raised an eyebrow, glanced at the waiter, and walked out. Could she have gone back to the inn? Leng Hua said, but she felt uneasy. Fengjiu thought for a moment, then said, "That's not likely. I think something happened. But we should go to the inn first and ask Hui Lang if there are any of their people here. Let's go." As she spoke, she walked with him to the inn. At this moment, her face was slightly gloomy. She didn't expect that Leng Shuang would disappear when they were just 2 blocks away. Were the people in this place so savage? How dare they kidnap someone in broad daylight? And there was no movement at all. It was clear that Leng Shuang had encountered someone much stronger than her. When they returned to the 2nd floor of the inn, Fengjiu saw Hui Lang and Ying Yi guarding the door. She asked, "Hui Lang, are there any people from Yindian in Sanjiang City?" Hearing this, Hui Lang was startled, then said, "Of course there are. Yindian is spread all over the place, and we have a base in this city." As she spoke, she asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen? Why did she come back with a pale face after going out for a while?" "Leng Shuang is missing. Let me check for you as soon as possible." What would happen if a woman fell into someone else's hands? It was hard to say. Therefore, she had to find her as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knew what would happen? Hearing this, Hui Lang and Ying Yi were slightly surprised. Leng Shuang was missing? Hui Lang immediately asked, "Where did she go missing? What happened? I'll send someone to check right away." We stopped at the corner of the street, and then my sister went to buy roast chicken to bring back to the inn. But after waiting for a long time, we still didn't see her. We went to the inn and said my sister didn't go. As Leng Hua spoke, he frowned with worry in his eyes. "I don't know how they disappeared, but I'm sure they were captured." Xian Yuan Mose, who was sitting cross-legged in his room, heard the conversation outside. He walked out and ordered, "Send someone to investigate first. We need to know the news before it gets dark." "Yes," Hui Lang replied, and quickly flew away. He looked at Fengjiu and said, "There's no point in worrying. Just wait." Fengjiu was deep in thought. He didn't wait in the inn like he had said. Instead, he said, "I'll take Leng Hua to the black market to ask." Then, he turned and walked out. Seeing her leave, Xian Yuan Mose looked at Ying Yi and ordered, "Tell the people who are secretly protecting her to follow her closely. Don't let anything happen to her." "Yes," Ying Yi responded and followed him downstairs. There were people secretly protecting Master, and Master also ordered people to secretly protect the ghost doctor. After all, they didn't know when they would be ambushed or assassinated. When they arrived at the black market, Fengjiu directly flashed his token and found the head of the black market. He explained the reason and asked him to help find Leng Hua. Seeing the black token, the head of the black market naturally couldn't refuse. Thus, he also sent people to investigate this matter. At this time, the unconscious Leng Shuang woke up and found her hands and feet tied, with a piece of Cheyenne cloth in her mouth. She was locked in a room. She couldn't help but be shocked. She struggled to untie the rope, but it was too tight. No matter how she pulled, she couldn't loosen it. Her divine sense sensed that there were 2 cultivators who were far stronger than her guarding outside. Except for the furnishings in the room, she knew nothing about this place. Chapter 561. Just as she was deep in thought, she heard voices from outside. She immediately lay back on the bed and pretended to be unconscious. Then, she heard the door creak open. "This woman is still not awake." The man's voice sounded. It was a man in his 30s with a slightly pale face, slightly swollen eyes, and a turbid light in his eyes. "Sir, she's still not awake. I think that palm strike was too strong." The person next to him said, "Never mind, it's still early. I'll come back tonight." The man said, but he didn't leave. Instead, he moved closer to the bed and stared at the cold woman in black on the bed. His gaze moved back and forth on her voluptuous and exquisite figure, and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Not only is this girl not bad looking, her body is also extremely hot. I can't help myself. Sir, you've always had good taste. There's so many women on the streets. It's her fortune that you've taken a liking to her. The person next to him said flatteringly. That's right. She's lucky enough to be chosen by this young master, so she can only become this young master's woman. Forget it, forget it. There's no need to rush. Later, tell the servants to dress this little beauty up properly when she wakes up. This young master will come over tonight. As he spoke, he laughed softly, his voice containing undisguised excitement. Yes, yes. When Lung Shuang heard those words, she resisted the urge to open her eyes and kick them. She waited until the two of them left, and the room returned to silence before she opened her eyes. She spat out the piece of cloth in her mouth and stared outside with a cold and eerie gaze. She tried to think of a way. She knew that her master would come looking for her if he found out that she was missing. However, she couldn't just sit here and wait for death. She had to think of a way to save herself. If it was just dealing with those two men, it wouldn't be a problem. However, there were two people with higher cultivation than her guarding outside the room. It would be difficult for her to escape. However, her master had given her many self-defense medicines. As long as the ropes on her hands and feet were untied, she could use them. At the same time, the sky was getting dark, but there was still no news of Lung Shuang. Fengjiu's face became more and more unsightly. Before coming to Shun Inn, she had gone to some underground black markets and brothels to investigate, but there was no news of Lung Shuang. Since it wasn't someone from the underground black market or brothel, it was probably someone who saw Lung Shuang's outstanding appearance and attracted the attention of some perverted people. If that was the case, the longer they waited, the more danger Lung Shuang would be in. Xianyuan Mose looked at her and saw that she was emitting a sinister aura. He comforted her. There will be news soon. The people from the black market are looking, and so are the people from Yandian. It's just Three River City, and there are two forces looking for one person. It shouldn't be difficult. Fengjiu glanced at him but didn't say anything. Her gaze fell on Lung Hua, who was standing by the window and looking outside. Lung Shuang was missing, and the person who was most worried about Lung Hua would be. They were blood-related siblings who depended on each other for survival. When something happened to his sister, he couldn't help and could only wait here. One could imagine how he felt. At this moment, Hui Lang quickly walked over. Master, ninth young master, there's news. Chapter 562. She was kidnapped by a man surnamed Zhong. This man is lecherous by nature. He must have taken a liking to Lung Shuang's beauty. I sent someone to rescue her first, then I came back to report. Lung Hua's heart sank when he heard this. He quickly looked at his master. He also wanted to save his sister. Fengjiu glanced at him, then said to Hui Lang, "Take Lung Hua there." "Thank you, master," Lung Hua said, then quickly left with Hui Lang. Fengjiu glanced at Xianyuan Mose, who was beside him, and said, "Wait here. I'll be back soon." He didn't go with her because he knew she could handle it herself. Thus, he waited at the inn for her return. At the same time, in that small courtyard, Lung Shuang, who had changed into a pink and purple dress, looked even more beautiful. Her face was naturally beautiful, and even the black clothes she always wore couldn't hide her beauty, let alone this beautiful pink and purple dress. When the man walked in and saw the tied-up beauty sitting on the bed, his eyes instantly lit up with a lustful light. He was drooling with desire. What a beauty! She's really the best, the best. Lung Shuang looked at the man coldly. Although this man looked like he was indulging in too much debauchery, he was still a golden core cultivator. Her heart couldn't help but sink. No wonder he only tied up her hands and feet. It turned out he didn't think she could escape from his grasp. In an instant, hundreds of thoughts ran through her mind. She lowered her eyes slightly and restrained her cold aura. She said calmly, "Is this how you treat a beauty?" As soon as she said this, the man's eyes lit up. "Of course not. I've always been very gentle with beauties." As he spoke, he came to the bedside and asked tentatively, "Beauty, how about I untie your ropes? You can't run away. If you do, you'll make me angry. The consequences will be very serious." Lung Shuang didn't say anything. He just handed him his tied hands. The man didn't mind. After he untied the rope on her hands, he sat by the bed and stared at her. The more he looked, the more he felt that this beauty was incomparably beautiful. The colder she was, the more interesting she was. Looking at her, the fire in his heart was ignited. He reached out to hook her chin. "Beauty, what's your name?" Lung Shuang dodged to the side and glanced at him coldly. He untied the rope at his feet and said, "Lung Shuang." "Lung Shuang?" As cold as ice. She is indeed as her name suggests. His eyes flashed, and the wolf light in his eyes became even more intense. "I thought you wouldn't say your name. I didn't expect you to tell me your name when I casually asked. Seems like you're quite tactful. I've already said it. I want you to know who killed you." As soon as she finished speaking, she instantly made her move. A swift and fierce attack attacked the man's throat. The speed was so fast that even the man who had been prepared for it couldn't help but be startled. His throat seemed to hurt and a trace of blood seeped out. The man who quickly retreated touched his neck and saw a trace of blood on his finger. He smiled sinisterly and stuck out his tongue to lick the blood. He stared strangely at Lung Shuang, who was standing up. "Your skills are quite nimble. Your personality is quite spicy and spicy. This young master likes it." As he spoke, he suddenly leaned forward and reached out to attack Lung Shuang. Chapter 563. Rip. The sound of clothes being torn came from inside. The two cultivators outside looked at each other and laughed. In the room, the man held the torn piece of cloth from Lung Shuang's body and sniffed it deeply. His eyes stared at her exposed, snow-white skin with an intoxicated expression. The clothes worn by a beauty are also fragrant. Lung Shuang's face was expressionless, but her expression didn't change. She had changed her clothes and didn't even use a weapon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have just cut his neck, she would have taken his life. However, if it was her master, she believed that this person would be dead by now. Her master didn't use a weapon to kill people. It seemed that she had to learn more about killing people with her bare hands from her master. "Beauty, let's play again. I don't believe that you can keep this calm." As the man spoke, he attacked Lung Shuang again. Lung Shuang directly picked up a vase next to her and threw it at him. The vase was dodged by the man and shattered into pieces on the ground. She didn't dodge and faced him head-on. The two of them exchanged a few blows. The clothes on her left shoulder were torn again, and the clothes on her body seemed to be torn off by the man, revealing a large area of snow-white skin. Even her chest was faintly discernible. She seemed to lose her balance and fell towards the broken vase. Her arms scratched the broken vase on the ground, and blood seeped out. "Look at you. How can you be so careless? Are you hurt?" The man frowned as he looked at her snow-white skin that had been cut open and fresh blood oozed out. He could not help but feel his heart ache. However, his gaze was fixed on the beautiful scene before her chest. He swallowed his saliva, and his breathing became heavier. Lung Shuang looked up and saw him walking over. In the next moment, she jumped up and threw herself at the man. The man laughed lowly and didn't mind. He didn't dodge and even reached out to hold her. But at this moment, his body stiffened and his eyes widened in disbelief. Fresh blood seeped out of his throat. His blood vessels had been cut. Even if the man tried to cover it with his hands, he couldn't stop the blood from gushing out like a fountain. He let go of Lung Shuang and staggered back, pointing at her with widened eyes. Lung Shuang threw away the blood-stained vase in her hand and looked coldly at the man. She straightened her clothes and said, "Remember, the person who killed you is called Lung Shuang." Bang! The man fell to the ground. Even in death, he couldn't close his eyes. He never thought that a mere mystic cultivator that he didn't take seriously could kill a golden core cultivator like him. How would he know that Lung Shuang had learned from Feng Jiu how to kill people? Without a weapon in hand, she could kill people at any time as long as she had a sharp blade in hand. Lung Shuang quickly took the man's chinquin bag. She found her own chinquin bag and took out the dagger. At this moment, the two golden core cultivators outside noticed that something was wrong and pushed the door open. When they smelled the stench of blood in the room and saw the man lying between the two rooms, The two golden core cultivators narrowed their eyes and immediately attacked Lung Shuang. Lung Shuang killed the golden core cultivator when he was unprepared. She took advantage of his distraction to kill him. However, the two golden core cultivators attacked her directly. She couldn't withstand their fierce, killing intent at all. Bang! Chapter 564. A nascent soul cultivator glanced at the two people inside, then pushed Lung Shuang to the side. Stand aside. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately rushed inside. Two shrill screams could be heard from inside, and the entire courtyard instantly returned to its original calm. Sister. Lung Hua came with Hui Lang. When he saw his sister in tattered clothes in the courtyard, he sucked in a breath of cold air. He hurriedly took off his coat and put it on her. Sister, are you okay? Hui Lang looked her up and down. When he saw that only her clothes were torn and her arm was bleeding a little, he secretly sighed in relief. Fortunately, she was fine. If something had happened, it would have been troublesome. I'm fine. Lung Shuang shook his head. Seeing his worried face, he added, My hand was just cut by a piece of debris. Lung Hua quickly bandaged her wound to stop the bleeding, saying, Sister, you don't know. Master and I were worried sick when you went missing. Master asked the Yama Lord's people to investigate, and then he went to the black market. He even took me to several places to look for you. Fortunately, you're fine. Lung Shuang's heart warmed. Just as he was about to speak, he saw a red figure fly over. He immediately called out, Master. When Fengjiu saw her, he first looked her up and down, then nodded. It's good that you're fine. He looked into the room. The gray-robed old man walked out. His gaze fell on Fengjiu. He paused for a moment, then nodded and said, No one survived. Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at the old man, then said to Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, Let's go back. Hui Lang, burn this courtyard. Yes. The few of them responded and followed behind her. The old man leaped up and disappeared into the night. The flames in the courtyard burned straight up, illuminating half of the night sky. It also alarmed the various forces in Three River City. Lin residence. Why is there a fire in the west of the city? Do you know what happened? Patriarch Lin asked the people sitting below. That courtyard belonged to a direct descendant of the Zhong clan, whose behavior was somewhat absurd. It was specifically used to hide women. He must have offended someone and was set on fire. As for who did it, I don't know. There were no survivors. Lin Qingji spoke and told everyone the news he had received. That son of the Zhong family hasn't been like this for the past 1 or 2 years. Even the people of Three River City didn't do anything to him. He must be an outsider, which is why he dared to act so recklessly. Lin Buoheng said and gestured, It's none of our business, so don't bother about it. Just take care of your own family. Yes, sir, everyone replied. Since we're done talking, let's talk about something serious. Lin Buoheng looked at his sons sitting below and said, Your aunt's marriage is finally set. Although the engagement ceremony hasn't been carried out yet, you should all go back and prepare a generous gift for your aunt. Father, we all know what to do. You don't have to worry. Lin Qingji smiled and looked at his brothers. Yes, father. Don't worry about this. We'll prepare well. The second son also smiled and said, They were sincerely happy that their aunt was going to get married. Chapter 565. Don't worry, father. If father is not at home, my brothers and I will definitely protect our Lin family. Lin Qingji stood up and said, Lin Buoheng nodded with satisfaction. These children were born from the same family and were as close as brothers. They were not like other families who would fight and kill each other. It was precisely because of these good examples of the elders that their children and grandchildren all had good conduct. In Sanjiang City, the Lin family's reputation was so good. On the other side, after returning to the inn, Fengjiu had Lung Shuang take a bath and re-bandage his wound. After ensuring that his wound was fine, he let her rest. Outside, Xinyuan Mose was sitting at the table. When he saw her come out, he poured her a glass of wine. Do you always care so much about the people around you? He asked in a low voice, as if he didn't mean it. Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at him. If others treat me with sincerity, I will naturally treat them with sincerity. What's so strange about that? Although Long Shuang and Long Hua had not been by her side for long, she believed that if she was in any danger, the two of them would definitely disregard their own safety. Rather than saying that the two of them treated her as their master, it was better to say that they treated her as a family member, a pillar of support. She felt that they treated her with sincerity, so naturally she would treat them with sincerity. Hearing this, Xinyuan Mo's deep black eyes flashed. So you're saying that this June did not do well enough? Fengjiu rolled his eyes. This is not the same. How is it not the same? Fengjiu only glanced at him with a meaningful gaze, but did not continue to speak. She only said, I'm going back to rest. I'll go to the Lin family tomorrow morning. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and went back to her room. Watching her enter the room and even close the door, he unconsciously tapped his finger on the table and asked, How is it not the same? His gaze swept over and looked at Ying Yi, who was standing at the side like an invisible person. Do you know? Being swept by his master's gaze, Ying Yi braced himself and stepped forward, pausing for a moment before saying, This subordinate has a little opinion. If it's wrong, I hope master won't blame me. Xinyuan Mo's glanced at him. Speak. Yes. Ying Yi replied, I don't know what ninth young master means by different, but I'm sure that ninth young master treats master differently from others. Oh. His eyes flickered as he said, Continue. Others can't get close to ninth young master, but master can. That's the difference. Hearing this, Xinyuan Mo's was deep in thought. He was too involved to see clearly, so he didn't feel anything different. But now that Ying Yi mentioned it, it seemed to be true. Gathering his thoughts, he looked at Ying, who had his head lowered. You're quite experienced in this aspect, but why haven't I seen you getting close to any woman? Hearing this, Ying Yi couldn't help but stiffen. He didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, his master didn't wait for him to answer. After taking a sip of wine, he got up and went back to his room. Seeing him enter the room, Ying Yi secretly sighed in relief. He thought to himself, where did that brat Hui Lang run off to? If he was here, he wouldn't be able to answer this kind of question. The next morning, Fengjiu, dressed in red, walked out of his room sleepily. Seeing Xinyuan Mo's already sitting by the window, he yawned and walked over. Chapter 566. When Long Hua saw that the two of them were up, he ordered breakfast to be served and retreated to the other table. What do you plan to do when you see your grandfather? Xinyuan Mo asked as he ate breakfast. Of course, I'll ask my grandfather for his opinion. If he wants to go back, I'll go back with him. If he wants to stay here, I'll go back and tell my father about the situation so that he won't have to worry about it. She ate the porridge with side dishes. She paused and asked, What about you? Don't you need to go back? There's no rush. After eating some food, he put down his chopsticks and watched her eat. You're not eating? She raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Is it not to your taste? I'm full. He looked at her and said, You should eat more. Fengjiu smiled and didn't say anything else. He quickly finished his breakfast, wiped the corners of his mouth, and stood up. Let's go. Seeing her quickly finish the porridge, he frowned and said, Don't eat in such a hurry next time. It's not like we're in a hurry. Yes, I know. She replied helplessly. She felt that he was like an old mother who nagged and wanted to control everything. After the two masters finished eating, the people at the other table also quickly finished their breakfast. They followed them out of the inn and headed to the Lin residence. The inn wasn't far from the Lin residence. They walked slowly and leisurely for about an hour before arriving at the Lin residence's main gate. Lung Hua went up and knocked on the door. The others stood to the side and waited. An old man came to open the door. When he saw Lung Hua knocking on the door, he sized him up and then looked at the people standing to the side. He asked, Who are you looking for? I'm looking for... Fengjiu began. He paused, looked around, and smiled. Old Master Feng. When he heard that they were looking for Old Master Feng, the old man hurriedly opened the door. Please come in. Allow me to inform him. As he spoke, he had someone lead them to the living room for tea. He went to inform the master of the house. Lin Boheng, who was eating breakfast in the courtyard, was stunned when he heard the housekeeper's words. Who are you talking about? A red-clothed youth and a black-clothed man? He said he's looking for San Yuan. He didn't know anyone here other than them. Why would someone come looking for him? Yes, this old servant saw that they were not ordinary people and that they were looking for Master Feng. So this old servant invited them to the living room for tea. All right, go and inform San Yuan. I'll go and take a look first. He got up and instructed the butler to report to San Yuan while he walked towards the living room in the front yard. When he arrived at the living room, he saw two figures, one black and one red, sitting inside. Behind the two of them stood 3 men and a woman. Seeing this, his gaze landed on the 2 seated people and secretly sized them up. However, when his gaze landed on the black-robed man, his mind could not help but tremble, and he actually involuntarily shifted his gaze away. He was slightly shocked, but his expression did not change. He walked in and smiled. This humble one is Lin Buoheng, the master of the Lin family. I heard from the housekeeper that there are guests in the house. May I know where these 2 esteemed guests have come from? As he spoke, he walked to the main seat and sat down. His gaze landed on the red-clothed youth. As he gazed at the young man, he couldn't help but praise in his heart. What a handsome young man that's willful and flamboyant. His unrestrained and unrestrained aura carried an aura of nobility that was formed from the heavens, and it was evil and unrestrained. It was obvious that this person was absolutely extraordinary. Chapter 567. Junior Fengjiu greets Patriarch Lin. She stood up and cupped her hands in greeting. Hearing this, Lin Buoheng, who was sitting at the head of the table, was stunned. He stared at her with wide eyes. You're Fengjiu? Fengqinga? Sun Yuan's granddaughter? He looked her up and down, but couldn't tell that this youth was actually a girl. What kind of girl could disguise herself as a man without the slightest shyness of a woman? Who else could be as carefree and unrestrained as she was? If she hadn't said it herself, he wouldn't have believed that the person in front of him was Sun Yuan's granddaughter. He had people investigate, so he naturally knew that Sun Yuan's granddaughter was originally called Fengqinga, but later changed her name to Fengjiu. However, he was bewildered. How did she find out that San Yuan was with him? And she actually came to find him? From the news he heard about Sun Yuan's granddaughter, he knew she wasn't simple. He didn't expect to see her with his own eyes. And that black-robed man, his gaze fell on the black-robed man again, and he thought to himself, this should be the powerhouse who helped them kill the nascent soul cultivator. Killing a nascent soul cultivator in an instant, this person is indeed dangerous. That's right. Fengjiu smiled. I knew my grandfather was here, so I came to take a look. Hearing this, Lin Buoheng's expression became strange. He carefully pondered over her words. You knew her grandfather was here, so you came to take a look? Just to take a look? Ahem. He coughed dryly and squeezed out what he thought was a kind smile on his dignified face. That phone brat, no, phone girl, your grandfather and I are sworn brothers. You don't need to call me Patriarch Lin. Just call me Grandpa Lin. Yes, Grandpa Lin. Fengjiu smiled, as if she was very easy to talk to, and her demeanor was very obedient. Well, although we kidnapped your grandfather, invited him here, we also paid attention to the situation on your side. We originally wanted to help if you needed help, but we didn't expect you and your father to handle things so beautifully. After I found out, I especially told your grandfather that he has a good granddaughter. Lin Buoheng had an embarrassed expression on his face. He had kidnapped the grandfather, and now the granddaughter had come looking for him. He felt an inexplicable sense of guilt, especially when the black-robed man glanced at him from time to time. That kind of strong sense of oppression made his palms sweat. His heart was on tenterhooks, and he was even nervous. Grandpa Lin, don't worry, I don't blame you. She smiled and said, I came here because I found out some things about my grandfather and Aunt Su Shi. This time, I came here to see what my grandfather plans to do. If he wants to stay here, I will go back and tell my father so that he won't worry. Haha, so you know about the two of them? Lin Buoheng sighed lightly and said, Actually, they've already talked it over. Your grandfather said that he wanted to go back first and have people prepare to marry Su Shi. If he knows you're here, He'll be very happy. Hearing this, Fengjiu's smile deepened. Yes, I also think he'll be very surprised to see me. As she spoke, her grandfather's voice came from outside. Chapter 568. Master Feng, you'll know once you go in, the housekeeper said with a smile. He stopped in his tracks because the living room was right in front of him. Seeing this, old Master Feng walked forward with his hands behind his back. When he stepped into the living room and looked inside, he jumped up in fright. When he met those smiling eyes, his entire face turned red and he ran out, disappearing like a wisp of smoke. Master Fengjiu was stunned. She had just stood up and called out to her grandfather, but he was actually scared away by her. Could it be that I've changed? You actually scared grandfather? She furrowed her brows and touched her face with one hand, then looked at Xianyuan Mose strangely. Haha, Sanyuan, I've always felt that you weren't a good match for Sushi. I thought that he was old, but Sushi looks like she's in her 20s. He probably wasn't prepared to see you here. Lin Buoheng smiled and stood up helplessly. I'll take you to his courtyard. He's definitely hiding and doesn't dare to see anyone. Hearing this, Fengjiu was stunned. She glanced at Hui Lang and recalled his words. She couldn't help but laugh. I didn't expect grandfather to be shocked instead of surprised when he saw me. Sigh, I shouldn't have come, right? Even Xianyuan Mose couldn't help but smile. He stood up with her and followed Lin Buoheng to old Master Feng's courtyard. At this time, old Master Feng was running to the courtyard with a red face as if his butt was on fire. He muttered along the way, it's over, it's over. Why did Feng Girl find me? If she finds out about me and Sushi, where am I supposed to show my face? At this moment, how could he still remember what Lin Buoheng had said to him? All he could think of now was that his granddaughter was here, but he still had a woman here. If she found out, how would she look at him as a grandfather? Would she say that he was disrespectful? What should I do? What should I do? What do you mean? A soft but doubtful voice sounded, startling him. He patted his chest and looked at the person. Sushi, why is it you? Why are you here? I wanted to come over to have breakfast with you, but I didn't see you even after I asked someone to set up the table. I heard that someone was looking for you, so I was about to go and take a look when I saw you rushing in. You didn't even see me here, and you were even muttering about what to do. What to do? What's going on? This old Master Feng didn't know what to say. He could only sit on the stone bench anxiously. Seeing this, she couldn't help but ask in confusion. Who's looking for you? Didn't you say that you don't know anyone here? Sigh. Little Feng is here. My granddaughter is here. He scowled miserably. He was afraid that little Feng wouldn't be able to take it if she found out. Would she be angry with him? He didn't want to acknowledge him as his grandfather. Little Feng, that very capable little girl. Sushi froze for a moment, then smiled. It's good that she's here. I wanted to see her. Didn't you say that you missed her a few days ago? Why did she come back and hide? Just as he was about to speak, his expression tightened. He heard the sound of laughter and jumped up from the stone bench in fright. Chapter 569. Sushi looked at him anxiously pacing around and couldn't help but be stunned. She didn't pay attention to him and walked out of the courtyard to greet the people who were walking towards her. When her gaze swept past the group of people, her gaze stopped on Lung Shuang, who was dressed in tight black clothes. But after looking for a while, she felt that it wasn't the case. Her gaze turned and landed on the young man in red. She looked him up and down, but couldn't tell that he was a girl. So, she could only ask, Big brother, I heard from Sanyuan that phone girl is here. Who's this? Haha, you can't tell either, right? It's her. This girl is dressed as a man. Even I can't tell. Lin Buoheng laughed loudly and asked, Where's Sanyuan? What do you think is wrong with him? His granddaughter is here and he's hiding? Is there a grandfather like that? He said he saw his granddaughter and was pacing around anxiously. I think he's looking for a hole to hide in. Sushi covered her mouth and chuckled. She looked at Fengjiu and said, You're phone girl, right? You're dressed better than a real man. If you didn't say it, I wouldn't have recognized you. Aunt Sushi, Fengjiu called out with a smile. Aunt Sushi is even more beautiful in person than in a painting. Hearing this, Sushi was stunned. Painting? Yes. I saw a painting of Aunt Sue, she and my grandfather's place. That's how I found this place. As she spoke, she winked at her. My grandfather has that painting of precious Kiki. Hearing this, Sushi pursed her lips and chuckled. No wonder your grandfather said you're a mischievous spirit. I finally know today. In just a few words, she could feel the friendliness that Fengjiu exuded. She was happy. I'll go in and find my grandfather first. I came all the way here, but he's not happy to see me. Instead, he's so scared that he's hiding. It really hurts my heart, she said with a smile and walked inside. She saw the old master, who wanted to hide but was too embarrassed to do so, turn around and look at her. Phone girl, why are you here? With nowhere to hide, old Master Feng could only face it head-on. However, he felt a little embarrassed to let his granddaughter know about this old man's romantic past. Grandpa, are you unhappy to see me? The smile on her face disappeared and was replaced by an aggrieved expression. Or do you only think of Aunt Sue, she, and don't want Fenger? No, I didn't. I really didn't. Old Master Feng waved his hands repeatedly. He was so anxious that he was sweating. Pucci, seeing him like that, Fengjiu couldn't help but laugh out loud. All right, Grandpa, I'm just teasing you. I also know about the matter between you and Aunt Sue Shi. This time, I just wanted to see if you're doing well. What are your plans for the future? I know you're safe and sound, but Father is still worried. Although she told her father that her grandfather would be fine, how could he be at ease without seeing it with his own eyes? Old Master Feng smiled embarrassedly and glanced at everyone. His gaze fell on Fengjiu. Feng girl, I originally wanted to go back in 2 days. I didn't expect you to come. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, Grandpa, are you going back? Or are you going to stay here? I'll go back and ask Father to prepare. Chapter 570. Sushi revealed a gentle smile. Then let's go back. Go back with Phone Girl. I'll wait for you here. Seeing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, I just got here. No matter what, I'll have to stay here for a while. If Grandfather wants to go back, he'll have to wait a few more days. Old Master Phone looked at her and smiled, but didn't say anything. Sushi smiled and said, Of course. Since you're here, you should stay here for a while. There's no rush to go back. That's right. Since you're here, take a good look at the scenery of Three River City. There are many places to visit in the city. When the time comes, let Sushi take you around. Lin Boheng smiled and looked at them, saying, You guys chat first. I'll go ahead and make arrangements. I'll receive you tonight. Then he told Sushi, Sushi, take good care of Phone Girl and the others. Don't neglect them. Big brother, don't worry. I know. Sushi smiled and nodded. After he left, she looked at Fengjiu and then at Xinyuan Mose, asking, What is this person called? His surname is Ling. He's my friend. Fengjiu smiled. Oh, young Master Ling. She nodded as a greeting and asked, How about I take you to the garden for a walk? No need, Miss Sushi. You and Grandfather probably haven't eaten breakfast yet, right? You guys eat first. We'll walk around first. When we came over, we saw the garden and know where it is. She had already seen breakfast on the table and guessed that the two hadn't eaten yet. How can that be? Sushi shook her head and laughed. It's fine. Phone Girl isn't an outsider. Old Master Feng said, and then said to Fengjiu, Phone Girl, you go. Wait for Grandfather to finish eating breakfast, then I'll go find you. His heart was still beating fast. He hadn't recovered from the shock of his sudden appearance. No matter what, he had to calm down first. All right. Sushi was helpless, but she didn't let them go by themselves. Instead, she called for a maid to take them. Grandfather, see you later. Fengjiu winked at him and smiled slyly. Only then did he leave with Xinyuan Mose. After walking around the Lin residence, other than a few servants and guards, they didn't see any juniors of the Lin family. So, Fengjiu asked, There should be a lot of juniors of the Lin family, but why didn't I see anyone? Xinyuan Mose glanced at her and saw that she didn't understand. So he explained to her, As long as the children of noble families are sent to the academy to cultivate and study, they only come back once or twice a year, so it's normal not to see them. Oh, Then why don't some of the clans in our Phoenix dynasty have any? She blinked and asked. A small ninth-rank country has yet to reach that level. Even if you want to send them into the academy, you still don't have the qualifications. However, I remember that you have a competition every 3 years to enter the academy. And it seems so. But I heard that although we participated, most of it had nothing to do with us because we were eliminated. She thought for a while and asked, Qingting Country's 6-star academy is the starting point, right? I seem to have flipped through the information. The best academy below a 6-star country is a 6-star academy. Chapter 571. His voice paused for a moment. Then he said, The academy has a master to guide you. It is better than cultivating alone. But you have to remember, don't be an apprentice to any academy. Hearing this, although Fengjiu felt strange when he said that she didn't want to be an apprentice, but he didn't ask much. It was not easy for her to be an apprentice. She had high standards, and ordinary people simply couldn't enter her eyes. Well, I know, she responded, thinking about entering the academy, and being a student again, she suddenly had a sense of excitement. However, after a pause, she looked a bit strange and asked, Do you think it is better for me to be a student or a mentor? Being a mentor, it would definitely be in the field of pharmacy. Moreover, with her level of pharmacy, it was more than enough for her to be a mentor in a 6-star academy. He looked at her deeply and said in a low voice, The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. In this world, there are too many strong people, far for what people can understand. When you enter a 6-star academy, it would be best for you to hide your aura. It would be best for you not to let people know about your identity. Seeing him speak so solemnly, and his words were filled with teaching, Fengjiu put away his playful smile, and with a serious face, he nodded. Well, I know. You can rest assured. Although my style of doing things is casual and occasionally a little narcissistic, but I still know this point. What can be done? What can't be done? She had an idea in her heart. About half an hour later, old Master Feng came to find them, and knew that Xinyuan Mose was the strong person who helped their Feng clan, and repeatedly bowed to thank him. However, for Xinyuan Mose, who was thinking about how to please the Feng clan, he didn't dare to accept his bow. He took Hui Lang and Ying Yi out of the door, saying that he had something to deal with, and would come back later. So he quickly left old Master Feng's line of sight, so that he couldn't find him to bow. Grandfather, you don't have to be like this. Just treat him as someone of the same generation as me. He wouldn't dare to accept your bow, Fengjiu said with a smile, and helped him to sit down in the pavilion. Does he like you? I saw the way he looked at you was not right. Although the old man was old, his eyes were very sharp, and he could see that the two were unusual. Fengjiu's mouth twitched and helplessly looked at him. Grandfather, don't talk about me. Let's talk about Aunt Su Shi. When Master Feng heard this, he immediately became shy. His old face turned red, and he said with embarrassment, That Feng girl, this, Grandpa, you don't have to be embarrassed. The age difference between the two of you isn't that big. It's just that Aunt Su Shi's beauty is at her peak. Let me tell you, I already know about your relationship. Aunt Su Shi is a rare woman. Grandpa, don't let her down. He's as to size, I'd say, by size master, is. My idea is good, right? She looked at him with a smile. With her grandfather's cultivation talent and her medicine, it shouldn't be difficult for him to become a martial venerable. Hearing this, old Master Feng was grateful. His granddaughter had already planned for him. What else could he say? Chapter 572. Hearing this, Fengjiu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Seeing that grandfather has such a good confidant like Aunt Su Shi, I am very happy for grandfather. After grandfather and Aunt Su Shi get married, I won't stay in the Phoenix dynasty. Won't stay there? Then where do you want to go? The old man was startled and quickly asked. She smiled and said, I want to go to the academy to cultivate. And I will go to the 6-star academy first. I will go there too. Hearing that she was going to the academy, old Master Feng was relieved. That's good. There are teachers there to look after you. We can rest assured. The grandfather and grandson chatted here until Lin Boheng prepared a banquet for them in the evening. Feng Jiao and Xianyuan Mose went together. They didn't stay in Three River City for long. After a few days of sightseeing, they prepared to leave. Lin Boheng, Su Shi, and Lin Qingji sent them out of the city. When they saw the luxurious airship, their eyes flashed with surprise. They didn't expect Feng Jiao to have such a luxurious airship. One must know, such a luxurious airship, even their family's airship couldn't compare. This kind of airship couldn't be bought with money. Perhaps this wasn't Feng Jiao's, but the Black Robe Man's. Big brother, Su Shi, Chengji, you can go back. No need to send us off. Old Master Feng said. His eyes fell on Su Shi and said, Su Shi, I won't let you wait for too long. Su Shi showed a gentle smile and nodded. Be careful on the road. I will wait for you to come back. Uncle Feng, everyone take care. Lin Qingji smiled and cupped his hands. You see, I said I would send you back, but now you say I don't need to. Lin Boheng shook his head and said, since you have Feng Girl and young Master Ling to accompany you on the road, then I won't send you off. We will wait here for your letter. Old Master Feng nodded, looked at Su Shi, and cupped his hands to Lin Boheng and Lin Boheng. I hope Big Brother and Chengji will take care of Su Shi. When I return, I will thank you properly. Uncle Feng, don't worry. We'll take good care of Annie. Lin Qingji said with a smile. Su Shi only smiled. Her face couldn't hide the sweetness, but her heart was filled with reluctance. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't, she really wanted to go with him to the Phoenix Dynasty. Go. If you keep talking, it's going to be dark soon. Lin Boheng joked and gestured for them to get on the ship. Grandpa Lin, Uncle Lin, Aunt Su Shi, we will meet again soon, Feng Jiao said with a smile. He glanced at them and then turned to board the spaceship. Even though old Master Feng was reluctant to leave, he still boarded the spaceship. When the spaceship took off, he waved at them, indicating that they should go back. Lin Boheng looked at his sister and said, Su Shi, let's go back. Lin Qingji also smiled. That's right, Aunt. It won't be long before Uncle Feng comes to fetch you. Su Shi smiled and nodded slightly. Only then did she go back with them. Phoenix Dynasty, the old man wasn't here, and his daughter wasn't here either. This caused Feng Xiao, who had a serious expression, to keep a straight face ever since his daughter left. He was obviously in a bad mood, until one day, he heard the Phoenix Guard's joyful voice from outside. Chapter 573. Although their master, Feng Xiao, was already the king, and the eldest miss was already the princess, they, who had been by their side for many years, were still used to calling them Master and Eldest Mississippi. Because it was impossible to change, Master was still Master, and Eldest Miss was still their Eldest Mississippi. Hearing this, Feng Xiao stood up in surprise and walked out quickly. You said that Xiao Jiao and Old Master are both back. Yes, they're outside the city gates. I came to report as soon as I received the news. How's Old Master? How's his body? Is he all right? Feng Xiao was a little nervous. Although Xiao Jiao kept saying that the ones who kidnapped Old Master should not be enemies, he was still worried if he did not see Old Master return safely. The middle-aged Feng Wei smiled. Don't worry, Master. I heard from my subordinates that Old Master is in high spirits and full of energy. Ha. Good. It's good that he's back safely. He strode out, planning to personally welcome them outside the palace gates. At the same time, Feng Jiao, who had changed back into female clothes and was wearing a white dress, walked through the gates of Yinyuan City with Old Master Feng. Only Lung Shuang, Lung Hua, Lao Bai, and the cloud-swallowing beast followed behind them. As for Xianyuan Mose, Hui Lang, and Ying Yi, they entered the palace first. She did not land the flying ship directly in front of the palace gates. Instead, she got off the flying ship outside the city. She wanted to walk into Yinyuan City with her grandfather and tell everyone that her grandfather was back. When the various families in the city heard the news, they were all shocked. What? Old Master Feng is back? Why did he suddenly come back? Didn't he mysteriously disappear? Who did he come back with? Where's he all this time? Who kidnapped him? Questions came out from the various families. The current Feng patriarch was already the retired emperor of the Phoenix dynasty. The Feng clan's experience during this period of time was truly inconceivable. Feng Xiao, who had been diagnosed as unconscious, had suddenly woken up. He had even advanced to become a martial emperor and replaced the Murong family as the monarch. Now, the old Master Feng, whose whereabouts were unknown, had actually returned. Everyone was curious about such a novel matter. Knowing that they were about to enter the city, they all rushed out to take a look. The Feng family was a noble imperial family. They were not people that these aristocratic families could see just because they wanted to. Old Master Feng, you're finally back. What old Master Feng? He's the retired emperor now. The commoners in the city who knew him all greeted him. When someone mentioned that his current status was different, everyone changed the way they addressed him and called him retired emperor. Hee, this old man has returned. Thank you for your concern. The old man greeted the commoners in the city with a smile. Seeing how enthusiastic and happy everyone was, his smile deepened. Grandfather, everyone is very happy to see you back. Feng Jiu held his arm and walked towards the palace gates with a smile on her face. Yes, after living here for so many years, we all know each other. Of course, we're happy. He nodded emotionally. From afar, he saw a familiar figure walking towards him. When he saw that figure, his eyes lit up. Chapter 574. Old Man Feng, you're finally back. Old Master Gung also laughed heartily and looked at him from head to toe. Seeing that he was fine and full of energy, Old Master Gung could not help but ask in surprise, "Where have you been all this time? You don't seem to have suffered much, right? Why do I feel that you're even more energetic than me?" When Elder Feng heard this, he didn't know how to reply. He couldn't tell his old friend that he was going to get married. He really felt too embarrassed to do so. Seeing her grandfather smiling, Feng Jiu could not help but smile. Grandpa Gung. Feng family's girl. Where did you find your grandpa? He looks weird. He even looks embarrassed when I ask him questions, Old Master Gung said, feeling curious. He looked at Old Master Feng from time to time. Feng Jiu smiled slyly and said mysteriously, "My grandfather is in high spirits because of a happy occasion. Grandpa Gung, keep this a secret for now. However, the news will come out soon. When the time comes, I'm sure you'll be shocked." She smiled. Old Master Gung was startled and then laughed. Good. This old man will wait and see what kind of happy occasion it is. He paused and said, "You just came back, so I won't delay you from going back to the palace. We'll talk again when there's time." "Okay, then we'll go back first. In 2 days, this old man will go to the Gung family to drink with you," Old Master Feng said and patted him on the shoulder. Then, he walked forward with his granddaughter. On the way, many people from the family came up to congratulate him. He returned their greetings along the way and let everyone see that he had returned safely. When they arrived at the palace gate and saw the people waiting at the gate, Old Master Feng felt emotional for no reason. He never expected that one day, a descendant of the Feng family would replace the Murong family and ascend to the throne. He also did not expect that everything would be different when he came back. "Father," Feng Xiao came up to greet him. Seeing that he came back safely, he was finally relieved. He said happily and excitedly, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Father, I told you that Grandpa will be fine, right?" Feng Jiu chuckled and looked at her father with a mysterious smile. "Moreover, our family is about to have a happy occasion." Feng Xiao was startled. Happy occasion? Just as he was puzzled and wanted to ask what the happy occasion was, he heard Luo Yu and the others who came to greet him. "Happily. Subordinate to greet you, master. Get up." Feng Jiu waved her hand and motioned for them to get up. "Master, you're finally back." Luo Yu looked at her and said, "When you weren't here, we kept it in mind and hoped that master would come back soon." "Come back soon to deal with you guys?" Feng Jiu chuckled and glanced at them. Hearing this, everyone laughed, and a joyous atmosphere filled the air. "Okay, let's go to the palace first. How can we talk here?" Feng Xiao said and came to Old Master Gung's side. "Father, a lot of things happened while you were away. I don't know if Xiao Ju has told you. If not, I'll tell you later. Chapter 575. The father and son walked and chatted as they walked into the palace. Feng Jiu was surrounded by Luo Yu and the others. Luo Yu, in particular, kept asking them if they had encountered anything interesting. Feng Jiu didn't say much, and Lung Shuang didn't like to talk. In the end, he pestered Lung Hua and asked Lung Hua to tell them about what had happened outside. Feng Jiu didn't return to the palace to rest. Instead, she went directly to her father and grandfather to discuss the marriage between her grandfather and Aunt Su Shi. In the main hall, her father and grandfather were talking. When they saw her enter, they waved for her to come forward. Xiao Jiu, you said you were going to have a wedding. What is it? Feng Xiao asked with a smile as he looked at his daughter. Feng Jiu looked at her grandfather in surprise. Grandfather, you haven't told me yet? Hee, I was waiting for you to come. Old Master Feng smiled awkwardly and adjusted his expression. He put away the smile on his face and looked at Feng Xiao seriously. His serious and solemn expression made Feng Xiao's heart skip a beat. He held his breath and waited for him to speak. I'm going to get married. Have someone look through the almanac and see if there are any good days. Then quickly prepare for the wedding. When she heard her father say that he was going to get married with a straight face, Feng Xiao was stunned. She thought she heard wrong and asked, Father, what did you just say? Who is getting married? Ahem. Old Master Feng coughed and glared. Your father. I'm going to marry again. Do you understand now? Well, what? You're going to marry again? Feng Xiao was stunned and looked at him in astonishment. Father, this is the joyous occasion that our family is going to hold. Feng Jiu pursed her lips and smiled. Seeing her father's stunned and dumbfounded expression, she felt very happy. Look, she wasn't the only one who had such a reaction. After a long while, Feng Xiao recovered from the old man's stare. However, he looked at him with a strange expression and asked, Father, who wants to marry you? His father was already quite old. Although this age wasn't considered old in the cultivation world, the old man's appearance was already old. Who would want to marry an old man? Moreover, the old man had been missing for so long, and when he came back, he said that he was going to get married. Anyone would be shocked. Hearing this, the old man blushed and glared at him. He swung his sleeves and stood up. Hurry up and do this for this old man. Don't ask so many questions. This old man is tired. I'm going to rest first. Seeing the old man fling his sleeves and leave in anger, the father and daughter in the main hall were stunned for a moment before they laughed. Xiao Jia, what's going on? Why did the old man say that he was getting married the moment he came back? Where is this woman from? Is she reliable? Feng Xiao looked at his daughter and asked. In fact, he was afraid that the old man couldn't see through people. Father, don't worry. This is absolutely reliable. Let me tell you, it's like this. Chapter 576. Feng Xiao was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect the old man to have such a romantic history. Also, that woman called Su, she had been in love with the old man for so many years and had been waiting for him. Even his mother didn't know about this. Thinking of this, he composed himself and said, Don't worry. Father knows what to do. It's rare for someone to treat the old man so sincerely. As his descendants, we naturally have to help him. In the future, there will be someone by his side to take care of him. That way, we can be more at ease. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Feng Jiu nodded with a smile. Grandfather is a little embarrassed. Father, let the subordinates prepare and arrange this matter. Pick a good date and let me know. I have to calculate the time because I still want to help Grandfather concoct the advancement medicine so that he can advance to a martial honor in the shortest time possible. All right, I understand. You've rushed back, so go rest first. Leave the rest to Father. He smiled and let her go back to rest. She nodded. Then I'll go back first. Go. He waved his hand and watched her leave. After a pause, he called someone in and asked them to choose a suitable date for the wedding. He also asked them to prepare the betrothal gifts. The next day, Feng Xiao showed the chosen date to Feng Jiu and the old man. He said, This year, there's only one auspicious date suitable for marriage. It's December 13th. It's close to the first day of a new year. There's less than 3 months left. What do you think of this date? Less than 3 months? Isn't it a little too rushed? The old man asked. He was worried that with such a tight schedule, many things would not be arranged properly. If we don't get married this year, then we'll have to wait until next year. Feng Xiao smiled and looked at the old man. Actually, father, you don't have to worry. Let them arrange these things. There's enough manpower and it'll be done quickly. Feng Jiu nodded. Yes, I think it's feasible. Although it's less than 3 months, we should be able to arrange everything properly. But old Master Feng hesitated. He did not dare to think about breaking through to martial honor in less than 3 months. Feng Jiu saw that his brows were slightly furrowed and his face was full of worry and hesitation. He knew what he was worried about. He smiled and said, Grandfather, it's good that you've tried your best. Anyway, Aunt Sue, she doesn't mind that you're an old man. If you can become a revered martial artist in 3 months, then it's a good thing. If you can't, then it's okay. Hearing this, Master Feng's eyebrows relaxed, and a smile appeared on his face. All right then, we'll do as you say. What about the betrothal gifts? Father will have someone list the betrothal gifts. Also, I'll make some medicine or pills to add to it. She took out 2 bottles of medicine and handed them to him. Grandfather, you're only 1 step away from becoming a martial emperor. Take these 2 bottles of medicine and go into seclusion to cultivate. When you break through, I'll make more medicine for you. Okay. Chapter 577. Yes, Grandfather, don't worry. I'll send someone to inform them. All right, I'll take my leave first. He then walked out and prepared to cultivate in seclusion. After watching him leave, Feng Jiu asked, Father, regarding Grandfather's wedding, do you plan to send invitations to the surrounding countries and the aristocratic families in the city? Of course, Grandfather is getting married and is the retired emperor of the Phoenix dynasty. Naturally, we have to send invitations to the surrounding countries. However, I'm worried that some people from the surrounding countries will take the opportunity to cause trouble. He pondered for a while and said, Think about it. Our Phoenix dynasty has just been established. Although the Feng family guard is not weaker than them, our foundation is not stable. If they want to cause trouble, I'm afraid that they will ruin Grandfather's wedding. If anything happens, I'm afraid that we won't be able to get out of this. Moreover, he paused and hesitated. We can't always rely on Mohan to support us. After all, we are a country and are in charge of country. If we rely on outsiders for everything, we will be looked down upon. Moreover, Mohan can't protect us forever. Therefore, this matter of invitations can be said to be difficult on both sides. Hearing that, her eyes flickered and the corners of her lips curled up. It's fine, please. It's one thing if they peacefully attend Grandfather's wedding, but if they really cause trouble during the wedding, then we can teach them a lesson and let them know that we're not to be trifled with. Otherwise, even if this matter is over, there will be trouble in the future. Since that's the case, why don't we settle it once and for all? Xiaojiu, you have to think clearly. If you really decide, then the one who will make things difficult for you will not be their emperor, but those princes and princesses. I can't deal with it personally, so it can only be done by you. Have you really thought it through? Do you have the confidence? Father, don't worry. She smiled and said, I have to go back too. The betrothal gifts and wedding invitations will have to be arranged by Father. Grandfather is in seclusion, so I have to make the best use of my time to concoct medicine. I probably won't go out for a while. If you're busy concocting medicine, then what about Mohan? Is he in the palace or in the Feng Manor? He's in the Feng Manor. He said that there isn't much going on right now, so he can stay here for a while longer. I figure that he will return once Grandfather's wedding is over. She said this while waving her hand at him. I'll be leaving first. There's something I need to talk to Lung Hua about. Feng Xiao shook his head helplessly as he watched her leave the main hall. He had wanted to ask her about her relationship with Mohan. The girl ran away like a wisp of smoke. Sigh. Forget it. The children had grown up and had their own thoughts and ideas. As a father, it was better for him to not interfere and let them be, After exiting the Great Hall, Feng Jiu didn't go to the palace. Instead, after giving some instructions to the phone guards, he instructed Lung Hua to stay in the palace and return to the Feng Manor with Lung Xuan. He planned to go to the Feng Manor to refine medicine. Furthermore, Xin Yuan Mose was still waiting in the manor. However, before she could leave the palace, she saw a black figure appear in front of her. Looking over, it was Xin Yuan Mose, and behind him were Hui Lang and Ying Yi. However, Hui Lang and Ying Yi's expressions were serious. Seeing this, her eyes moved slightly, and she looked at him standing in front of her and asked, "What's wrong?" Chapter 578. However, as soon as the words came out, he grabbed her waist, and with a few leaps, he disappeared in front of the two people behind him. Hui Lang and Ying Yi looked at each other, but did not follow. Feng Jiu was held in his arms, her body tightly pressed against his chest, and smelling his unique scent, her heart gradually calmed down. She did not know when, but as long as he was by her side, she would feel at ease. Perhaps even if she did not want to admit it. In her heart, there was something quietly changing. With a spin, the black robe and the white robe intertwined with each other in the wind. He steadily stopped at the top of the highest palace in the imperial palace. At this time, it was still early in the morning, the sun was not dazzling, and the breeze was very comfortable. Seeing him standing there quietly with his arms around her, but did not speak, just stared at her with a pair of deep black eyes, as if he wanted to remember her appearance in his mind. Her heart slightly moved, and an idea came to her mind. Withdrawing from his arms, she casually sat down and asked, "Are you leaving?" "Well, I just received the news, so I have to go back immediately." He looked at her, as if he wanted to say something, but after a slight pause, he just said, "This time, if you want to come back, it will not be so easy." "Are you going back to the Empire?" She remembered that last time Hui Lang had said that they were only going back to the first-class country to deal with some things. If they went back to the Empire, the long journey was one thing, but more importantly, it would be difficult to come back. If they did not want to establish a force here, it was estimated that they would not have come here from the Empire. He responded, and looked at her with his black eyes, and said, "This time, I will not be able to come down for a few years. You have to take care of yourself. I originally wanted to attend your grandfather's wedding and send you to the 6-Star Academy, but now I can't." "And I will." She nodded, and then said, "It doesn't matter. I will go to the 6-Star Academy myself. I will talk to my grandfather." His black eyes moved slightly, and looking at her calm face, he asked, "Don't you have anything you want to say to me?" She tilted her head slightly to look at him and smiled. "Take care." Hearing this, he felt powerless and asked, "How did I treat you? Could it be that you didn't feel anything these days?" As he spoke, he didn't wait for her to speak and continued, "This time, I won't be able to come down again after leaving. Don't avoid the question of feelings anymore. Give me an answer." Hearing his domineering words, she looked up at him and asked, "If I say no, will you let go?" She seemed to have asked this question before. However, after Xin Yuan Mose heard this, he stared deeply at her and said domineeringly, "No, you are the woman that this monarch fancies, so you can only be this monarch's woman." Hearing this, she couldn't help but laugh. A smile blossomed on her peerlessly beautiful face. It was a happy smile, a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. It was so beautiful, so dazzling. Chapter 579. Looking at the smiling face in front of him, a sentence surged from the bottom of his heart, and he couldn't help but blurt it out. "Feng Jiu, my heart loves you." Feng Jiu's heart trembled as his words echoed in her ears. "Feng Jiu, my heart loves you." She looked at him and saw him quietly staring at her. The deep affection and gentleness in his eyes couldn't help but shake her heart. She restrained her smile, and her eyes fell on his handsome and resolute face. For the first time, she directly responded to his feelings. "Your feelings, your intentions, I can feel them all. However, there's a knot in my heart that hasn't been untied. In this kind of situation, I'm not willing to accept your feelings. Moreover, Your status is not ordinary. I don't know how long your feelings will last. Will your love for me be able to withstand the test of time and power? Once a woman invests in her feelings, she will wholeheartedly and will not be able to take it back. Once a man gains his feelings, his passion will gradually decrease. Since you want me to give you an answer before you leave, then my answer is, do you dare to make a 10-year promise with me? She looked at him. This time, she didn't avoid the question, didn't avoid answering, and didn't pretend to be confused. Instead, she spoke clearly and clearly. 10 years from now, if you still don't give up, if you still insist on the decision you made today, if you still dare to say to me, Fengjiu, my heart loves you, then I will marry you. Hearing this, his heart trembled. He could feel her fear towards feelings. She was afraid of being hurt. She was afraid that after she invested in her feelings and fell in love with him, he wouldn't be able to withstand the test of time and power. She was afraid that after a long time, his love for her would be worn away by time and power. Seeing her lack of confidence, seeing her so proud, seeing her so insecure, his heart was filled with pity and heartache. He wanted to tell her, no, in this life, I will only love you. Neither time nor power will be able to erase my love for you. However, he didn't say it. Rather than saying it, it was better to use time and action to prove it. He would let her know that his love for her would never change. This ruler agrees to the 10-year promise. He looked at her and said with a solemn and serious expression, don't come back for the next 10 years. Just wait for me in the empire. 10 years later, I will look for you for an answer. She stood up. Her white robe and black hair fluttered in the wind. She raised her eyes to look at him. Her usual self-confidence and devilish charm had been restored. Between her brows, there was recklessness and brashness. What I advocate is a lifelong relationship. In this promise of 10 years, you have to keep your chastity. If I find out that you have other women by your side, then there's no need to wait for 10 years. You'll be kicked out immediately. I won't give you another chance. Hearing these domineering and arrogant words, Xianyuan Moses' lips curled up slightly, a smile appearing in his deep black eyes. Just you alone is enough to torment this monarch. How would this monarch dare to provoke others? Looking at his back facing the morning sun, he raised his eyebrows slightly. His deep black eyes were mysterious and full of affection as he stared at her. His sexy thin lips curved slightly, revealing a charming smile that could topple all living things. Chapter 580. Xianyuan Moses' entire body shook. He watched as she stood on her tiptoes and reached out to grab his neck, pulling him down and kissing him on the lips. That soft touch made him instantly come back to his senses. He held her waist with one hand and pressed the back of her head with the other. He changed from passivity to initiative and deepened a kiss. Feeling the man's inexperienced kissing technique, she couldn't help laughing in her heart. She guided him so that her lips wouldn't be bitten until they bled. When Xianyuan Mose felt her skillful kissing technique, his eyes deepened. Under her guidance, his lips and tongue played with hers. It wasn't until he felt the woman in his arms go limp in his arms that he finally let her go. Looking at her flushed face and slightly disordered breathing, his low and hoarse voice had an indescribable meaning as he asked in a strange tone, "Who taught you this?" "What?" Fengjiu was confused by the kiss and didn't react. It wasn't until she saw his deep eyes staring at her lips and saw the expression on his face that she couldn't help but chuckle. Even if you haven't practiced it, it's in the book. You don't even know this? This man was jealous. Hearing this, his eyes flashed with understanding. So the book also taught this. It seems like when he went back, he would have to ask Hui Lang to find a few books for him to study. That's right. You shouldn't have much medicine left to suppress the cold poison, right? I haven't refined it yet. If you leave like this, then wouldn't the cold poison... He hugged her and looked at her worried expression. He smiled and said, "No need. This 1,000-year-old cold poison can't always be suppressed. Otherwise, the consequences will be even more serious. Then what if the cold poison acts up? His situation should be very dangerous, especially since those people had targeted the 15th night. It could be seen that they knew he was the weakest on the 15th night, and it was the easiest to take his life. You don't have to worry about this. This monarch has his own plans. As he spoke, he took out a necklace and put it on her. This necklace is a defensive artifact. No matter what, you can't take it off. She felt a chill in front of her chest. She lowered her head slightly and saw that it was a purple droplet-shaped pendant that was emitting a mysterious light. In this dazzling droplet pendant, there were 7 light yellow little stars. She didn't know what material it was made of, but when it reflected the sunlight, it was even beautiful and dazzling. "Thank you." She thanked him softly, but realized that she had nothing to give him. Then, her eyes flashed as if she had thought of something. She said to him, "Wait a moment." There was a smile in his eyes as he looked at her quietly. He watched as she took out a red string from her space. She then took out a strand of her hair and braided it into the red string. Finally, she asked him to reach out and tie it around his wrist. "Rope of peace, my gift in return." Looking at the woven red string on his wrist, the corners of his mouth slightly curved. "And this gift is very good. I will always wear it." She deeply looked at him, as if she wanted to remember his face in her mind. She hid the reluctance in her heart and softly said, "I'll send you out of the city." "No need." A low and deep voice came from his mouth. His deep black eyes looked into her eyes as he slowly said, "We'll have to part in the end. You could just send me off here." As he spoke, he lowered his head and gently kissed her forehead. Chapter 581. Fengjiu looked at her deeply after he finished speaking. Then, he resolutely turned around and waved his sleeves. He rose into the air and flew towards the palace gate. She watched as his black robe fluttered in the wind. She watched as his figure gradually disappeared into the distance. She watched as he left without looking back. 10 years. 10 years later, if you are still determined to love me, I will marry you. She whispered softly. She kept watching until his figure completely disappeared from her sight. Then, she retracted her gaze and suppressed the reluctance in her heart. 10 years is enough for me to grow. 10 years later, I will definitely be qualified to stand by your side. Her eyes shone with confidence. She glanced at the direction he left and then turned to leave. In the following days, she did not cultivate. Instead, she was refining medicine. Bottles of medicine were formed in her hands. In addition to the medicine for her grandfather, she also had to prepare some for the Lin family as betrothal gifts. A big family like the Lin family naturally wouldn't lack things like gold, silver, and treasures. But even in a place like theirs, high-grade medicines were very rare. Although they didn't care what kind of betrothal gift her grandfather took out, she felt that this was the face of the Feng family and also the importance they attached to Aunt Su Shi. Naturally, they couldn't be too casual. A family like the Lin family would also have a great need for this kind of medicine. She was certain that they would be very surprised when these 100 bottles of medicine were given as betrothal gifts. In the medicine refining courtyard, various spiritual medicines were placed on the table. Lung Xuan was helping to classify them. One master and servant refined the medicine while the other classified the herbs. Due to her orders, if there was nothing important, no one would come to disturb her. Even Luo Yu and the others were all guarding outside the courtyard and were not allowed to enter. "Master, there are only less than 10 of the more than 20 herbs left." Lung Xuan gave her a list of the insufficient spiritual herbs and showed it to her. Fengjiu took a look and said, "These are the main ones. Go to the black market now and tell people to make up for it as soon as possible. Tell them to send it over tomorrow at the latest." "Yes," she replied, and quickly went out to the black market. Fengjiu's identity as the ghost doctor was recently known by the people in the black market of Yingyue City after she revealed her face without a mask at Qingting Black Market. After all, she did not wear a mask at Qingting Kingdom. She did not disguise herself. As long as they used her portrait to investigate, they would be able to find out. However, she only ordered them not to spread the news. It was fine if the people in the black market knew about it. After all, it was more convenient for her to do things after all. Knowing her true identity. Because of her identity and the fact that she was the holder of the black token, even the presidents of the black market did not dare to reveal her identity. This was because the news from the Yin Kingdom had spread to the various black markets. The ending of the middle-aged man who tried to exchange her black token would definitely shock everyone. "Who's outside?" She walked to the table to rest and called out. Luo Yu's voice hurriedly sounded, and he stuck his head in and asked with a fawning expression, "Does Master have any orders? Do you need me to go in and help?" "Master, we are here too." Chapter 582. Seeing that they were all standing guard outside the courtyard, she shook her head and smiled. "This is the Feng Manor. Even if you don't stand guard, no one will dare to invade." She paused and looked at them, saying, "How about this? Luo Yu, go make some explosives. It's best if you teach the Feng guards how to make them and put them in the palace just in case." Hearing this, Luo Yu chuckled. "Master, I already taught them when you left. Right now, everyone has them in their cosmos bags. There are also some in the palace. Even if other countries invade, we have enough soldiers and battle power to fight them." She nodded and said, "Then the few of you can go and cultivate. Increasing your own strength is most important. As for Fan Lin, don't you know medicine? Come in and help me." Hearing this, Fan Lin rejoiced and quickly replied, "Yes." Then he quickly walked in. Looking at the spirit herbs in the courtyard, his heart was filled with excitement. The others were helpless. They did not understand things like medicine, but they could cultivate. Thus, they cupped their hands and left. However, they did not go far. Instead, they sat cross-legged outside the courtyard to cultivate their Xian Qi. After resting for a while, Fengjiu told Fan Lin a few things to pay attention to and continued to make her medicine. 2 days later, another bottle of medicine was made. She let out a sigh and felt that she had really worked hard these past few days. In a short 5 or 6 days, she had made over 100 bottles of medicine. Fortunately, this kind of work was not done often. Otherwise, she would have died from exhaustion. "Master, there are exactly 100 bottles." Fan Lin looked at the 100 bottles of medicine on the table in the room. His mood had gradually calmed down, and he had become accustomed to it. For the past few days, he had been by his master's side, watching as she refined bottle after bottle of medicine that no one would be able to buy even if they broke their heads. His mood had also become extremely excited with each bottle's success. However, gradually, he saw that his master made almost no mistakes in the field of medicine and did not waste those elixirs that were concocted. At this time, he was already very calm and felt that this was how it should be. "Put them away when you're done. You and Long Shuang will send these 100 bottles of medicine into the palace." She waved her hand and had Long Shuang and Fan Lin put away the medicine and send it into the palace. Then, she called for a maid to prepare hot water for a bath. She then went to bed to rest for a while. Half asleep and half awake, she seemed to hear the sound of thunder. The two received their orders and left. The remaining people stayed in the Feng Manor. About 4 hours later, they returned with good news. Fengjiu, who had rested for 4 hours. "I thought so too. With thunder on a sunny day, it's probably because grandfather broke through." She put down her bowl and chopsticks, wiped her mouth, and said, "Lung Shuang, come with me to the black market." "Yes." Lung Shuang replied and came to her side. "You stay at home and guard. Do what you need to do," she said to Fan Lin. Then, she brought Lung Shuang out and went to the black market. Chapter 583. The citizens looked at the beautiful woman sitting inside the carriage, lifting the curtain and propping up her chin with one hand. Their hearts were filled with emotion. Today was different from the past. Her status had changed from the Feng Manor's eldest young miss to princess. Moreover, she had been in charge of the Feng Manor during that time. Her methods and her coldness were all known to the citizens who had gone to watch that night. Towards her, aside from being shocked and envious, there was only respect. Fengjiu was already used to the citizens' gazes. Although she propped up her chin and looked outside, her thoughts had flown far away. She wondered if Xianyuan Mose had returned to the Empire. The journey from here to the Empire was much further than going to first-tier country. What kind of place was the city in the sky? Truthfully speaking, she really was very curious. Her cheap brother had gone out with the black market's mercenaries to train. She did not know where he had gone. She wanted to find him, but she could not find him. Although her father had already released the news of her grandfather's wedding, she did not know if he had heard the news. While she was thinking, the carriage stopped, and Lung Shuang's voice came from outside. "Master, we've arrived." She returned to her senses and lifted the curtain to get out of the carriage. She then walked into the black market. When Manager Yin heard that Feng Jiu had come, he hurriedly went to invite the president. Then, he followed behind the president and came to the front. When he saw the ghost doctor, who was dressed in white and had completely lost her usual demonic aura, Manager Yin hurriedly lowered his gaze and stood behind the president in an orderly manner. "Your Highness, please enter the room upstairs." The black market's chairman chuckled and looked at Feng Jiu. He gestured for her to enter and led the way. Manager Yin personally stood guard outside, while the chairman received her inside. "I heard that the retired emperor's wedding is about to begin. How does the ghost doctor have time to come to the black market?" The black market's chairman chuckled and asked. He remembered that when the ghost doctor's portrait had come from Qingting country, he had been given a fright. If he had not confirmed it over and over again, he would never have guessed that the ghost doctor was actually the Feng Manor's eldest young miss, Feng Qinggu, the current princess. However, after knowing that she had defended the Feng Manor and fought against the Qingtang country's imperial family, he felt that this was the ghost doctor's style. Thinking that the ghost doctor was in Yunhua City and that she was the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, he became excited. Originally, he thought that he was just a decoration in this place, but after knowing that she was the ghost doctor, he became excited. There are many things in the black market. However, there are many good things in Yunhua City. Hence, I'm here today to ask for your help. Feng Jiu smiled and looked at the man in front of him. Hearing this, the guild master smiled and asked, "Please speak, ghost doctor. I need some magic weapons or spiritual weapons, both offensive and defensive. I also need 2 flying magic weapons. I want to buy these through the black market. They don't have to be of too low quality. Aside from buying them, you can also barter with me." Hearing this, the guild master was startled. Then, joy appeared in his eyes. Ghost doctor means that as long as you take out a magic weapon that you like, you can exchange it for a bottle of medicine? She nodded, seeing that the guild master was startled for a moment. Her eyes shone with joy and excitement. Chapter 584. As he spoke, he took out several magic tools from his space and introduced them to her. However, among the magic tools, Feng Jiu only took a liking to one of them. It was a flying device called the flying wheel. "This one, do you want to trade?" She looked at the black market president and asked. "Trade, of course we'll trade." The black market president smiled and asked expectantly, "How would the ghost doctor like to trade?" Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled. She glanced at the black market president, who had an expectant look, and said, "What does the president think?" At this moment, her voice had already become slightly cold, and her glare towards him carried a bit of warning. Seeing this, the black market president smiled embarrassedly and gave up on the idea of extorting a few bottles of medicine from her. Just now, he did have that thought. He thought that she probably didn't know much about the market. If this flying wheel could be exchanged for 2 or 3 bottles of medicine, then he would have profited greatly. After all, although the flying wheel was a pretty good flying device, he had one himself. There was no point in keeping it, so he might as well trade it for some medicine that could help him level up. He had received news that old Master Feng had broken through to become a medicine sovereign not long after he returned. Others might not know, but he knew. It must have been the ghost doctor's doing, using her medicine to help him break through. If his cultivation could break through again, as long as his strength allowed it, he could be transferred to other places. Although the Phoenix dynasty was different from the past, he still wanted to work in the black markets of the high-ranking countries. Only in those kinds of places would he be able to come in contact with more things and see more things. This, according to the market price, exchanging a bottle of Ghost Doctor's medicine for level up is about right. As he spoke, his face was a bit embarrassed. Seeing that she was staring at him with a smile that wasn't a smile, he couldn't help but say, "Min, how about this? The Ghost Doctor will also leave this magic tool. This way it's about right." He sighed in his heart. He originally wanted to extort a sum of money from her, but who knew that he didn't get anything? Hearing this, Fengjiu took out a bottle of medicine and kept the two magic tools, then said, "Then that's it for now. As for the rest, I'll leave it to you to keep an eye out for me. I'll take my leave first." She nodded and led Lung Shuang out of the room. After leaving the black market, she got into a carriage and headed to the palace. In the main hall, Feng Xiao was discussing something with a few people. When he heard the guard coming in to report that the princess had arrived, he couldn't help but look up, but he didn't even see her shadow. After a while, he saw his daughter leisurely walking over. "Father," she called out and walked in. Her gaze swept past the middle-aged Phoenix guards. Eldest Mississippi, several people bowed and said to Feng Xiao, "This subordinate will take his leave first." Saying this, they retreated far away. "Xiaojiu, I was just about to look for you. Come, sit here. I'll show you the recent arrangements." He gestured for her to come forward. Fengjiu stepped forward and sat down beside him. "The betrothal gifts are almost ready. I want to ask, who is the most suitable person to send the betrothal gifts?" This matter should be handled by the subordinates, but she always had her own opinions. He felt that it might be better to ask her about this. Chapter 585. Hearing this, he hesitated. Is this appropriate? Why is it inappropriate? Besides, I have to use my flying ship to deliver so many betrothal gifts. Otherwise, how can I deliver them? That's why it's best for me to handle this matter. She chuckled and asked, "But father, when the time comes, do we go to Sanjiang City to pick up the bride? Or do they come here first and find a place to stay before we pick up the bride? I really don't know anything about these things." "You can ask them when you get there. They'll make the arrangements." He thought for a while and said, "It's not appropriate for a girl like you to go. How about this? Go ask old Master Gung to go with you. You'll have an elder by your side. If there's anything you don't understand, he'll tell you." Hearing that it was old Master Gung, Fengjiu nodded. "Okay, the betrothal gifts have been prepared. When do you plan to leave?" he asked. Fengjiu's eyes flickered. He thought for a while and said, "Let's go tomorrow. I'll put the flying ship outside the palace gate and carry the betrothal gifts on it. The people who will deliver the betrothal gifts will count them. We'll leave tomorrow." "Okay, go to your grandfather and tell him that I'll go to the Gung family and ask old Master Gung to go with you." He stood up and walked out. Fengjiu went to the place where her grandfather cultivated. He told him about the matter and checked his condition. Then, he gave him some potions that could help him level up. "Grandfather, although the potions can help you level up, you can't use too much of it. At your current stage, you can only use 2 bottles." She looked at her grandfather, whose face had changed because he had become a martial emperor. She continued, "After using these 2 bottles of potions, no matter what your level is, you'll have to stop cultivating. You can't cultivate anymore." "Haha, little phone, don't worry. Grandfather eats more salt than you eat rice. I know this. Don't worry. I'm no longer the same as before." Old Master Feng stroked his beard and smiled. He then added, "With your Grandpa Gung accompanying you, Grandpa can rest assured." "All right then, I'll head back first. I still have to make some arrangements." She smiled and said goodbye to him before turning to leave. This time, aside from the people her father had arranged, she also brought along Luo Yu's group of 8 and Lung Shuang. As for Lung Hua, he remained in the Feng Manor to take care of matters. The next morning, when a luxurious spaceship landed in front of the palace gate, it attracted the attention of the citizens. The red words on the spaceship that said, "Double Happiness," made the citizens gasp in amazement. "I heard that the retired emperor is going to marry the daughter of an aristocratic family from a third-rate country. He's going to present the betrothal gifts. Since His Majesty posted the news, the invitations from the neighboring countries have been sent." The big day is on the 13th of December. It will definitely be very lively then. That's for sure. This is the old master's the retired emperor's wedding. It will definitely be a grand affair. Look, that's the Gung family's old master. I heard that His Majesty personally visited him yesterday and asked him to go with him. Chapter 586. The white figure that walked out of the palace gate walked with light and elegant steps. Her dress fluttered gently in the breeze. She was elegant, refined, and dignified. Beside her was Lung Shuang, who was dressed in black and had a cold look on his face. Behind her were 8 handsome phoenix guards. Feng Jiu, who was dressed in white, looked even more majestic when he was surrounded by these people. Grandpa Gung, Feng Jiu greeted with a smile. Sorry to trouble you. You're too kind. This old man is honored. Ha! He laughed loudly, and his whole person was full of energy. Feng Jiu smiled and said to the people behind him, Go and see if everything is ready. Yes. They walked toward the spaceship, and their hearts were nervous. This was the first time they went out with their master. Although they didn't show it on their faces, they couldn't sleep since last night after hearing the news. Feng Jiu and old Master Gung were chatting while the other side was checking the betrothal gifts and the people. Not long after, they came to report. Master, the betrothal gifts and the people are all here. We can leave at any time. Okay, she responded and made a gesture of invitation. Grandpa Gung, this way please. Old Master Gung nodded and turned to board the spaceship. The moment he stepped on the spaceship, he sighed in his heart. He didn't expect that the first time he boarded the spaceship would be on the way to deliver the betrothal gifts for Old Master Feng. It was really unexpected. After everyone boarded the spaceship, Feng Jiu asked them to sit down and then started the spaceship to go to the Yin Kingdom. On the other side, in the palace of the Qingting Kingdom, Crown Prince Niet Tong sat in front of the table after hearing the latest news from the Phoenix dynasty. His brows were furrowed, and his eyes were gloomy and unwilling. Compared to when he first met Feng Jiu, he was now emitting a vicious aura. Phoenix dynasty, Feng Qingda, or Feng Jiu? And that man, who is he? Ever since he returned, he was fiercely reprimanded by his father, who repeatedly ordered him not to provoke the people of the Phoenix dynasty. He even called back all the people he could use, as he was afraid that he would not be able to hold himself back and make a move on the Phoenix dynasty. However, after suffering such a great humiliation, how could he be willing to give up just like that? As for that reckless and flamboyant beauty, that woman who was as beautiful as a ball of fire, his initial joy turned into obsession. Letting go. How could this be? However, when he thought of the black robe man and the power behind him, he felt a wave of powerlessness. Yama Lord. That man was actually the lord of the Yama Palace, whose influence was spread across all the major countries. How could he have the strength to contend against him? His heart still trembled at the thought of that man's cold and sharp gaze containing the power to destroy the heavens and earth. His hands were tightly clenched into fists as his eyes shone with a determined light. He muttered in a low voice, This king will not let go. Feng Qingda, I will definitely obtain you. Yin Kingdom, Sanjiang City, Lin family. Ever since old Master Feng left, Sushi had been sitting there lazily, looking forward to it. She was not interested in anything, and it could be said that she was counting the days. Chapter 587. Sushi glanced at the two and said, No, I still need to embroider a pair of mandarin duck's pillowcases later. Her wedding dress was left to her by her mother. She thought she wouldn't need it, but after so many years, it could finally be put to good use. She didn't know how to embroider a wedding dress, so she embroidered a pair of mandarin duck's pillowcases. However, this was her first time being a bride, and she was a mess. She didn't know what to do, and the person she wanted to see wasn't by her side. She was lazy all day and didn't have the energy to do anything. When the two heard her words, they helplessly shook their heads and laughed. A pair of mandarin duck's pillowcases hadn't been finished since Sanyuan left. This speed was really slow. Fortunately, she didn't need to embroider a wedding dress. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take? The father and son accompanied her in the courtyard and chatted for a while. After a while, when the two were about to leave, they saw the housekeeper hurriedly run in with a face full of excitement. He's here. Family head, he's here. What's here? Lin Buoheng glanced at him and asked. Even Lin Qingji and Su she looked over. Their gazes fell on the housekeeper's excited face. He's here to deliver the betrothal gifts. The housekeeper said excitedly. What? He's here to deliver the betrothal gifts? Lin Buoheng and Lin Qingji looked at each other. Wasn't this too fast? It hadn't even been 10 days since they left, right? He's already here to deliver the betrothal gifts? Sushi stood up with a face full of surprise and asked, Really? Where's San Yuan? He's here to deliver the betrothal gifts? I haven't seen him yet. I only know that there's a huge entourage. That luxurious flying ship directly flew into Three River City and is heading towards our Lin Manor. There's a large double happiness character on the ship. Everyone in the city is talking about it and is following behind the flying ship to see the commotion. Hearing this, the father and son were dumbfounded. They hurriedly said, Quick, quick, come with me to take a look. Lin Buoheng said and instructed Su Shi, stay in the courtyard and don't go out. A bride can't go out and show her face. If San Yuan comes later, Big Brother will send someone tell you. Sushi was also happy in her heart. Knowing that the rules were like this, she nodded her head. Her face flushed red as she shyly urged, I understand. Big Brother, quickly go and take a look. Ha, I got it. Qingji, let's go. Lin Buoheng glanced at his son and strode out. At this moment, the people in the Lin mansion heard the news and rushed out. When they arrived outside the house, they saw a flying ship with the words double happiness flying towards them from afar. The speed of the flying ship was very slow and it flew very low. Sounds of fireworks could be heard from the flying ship. With a bang, colorful fireworks scattered and fell from the sky. It was extremely beautiful. In addition to the fireworks along the way, after entering the city, wedding candies were sprinkled all the way from the spaceship, making the people in the city cheer. The whole Three River City was in an uproar, and the cheers were endless. Some forces and families came out to watch, and they were very surprised. Generally speaking, spaceships were not allowed to enter the city, but this spaceship could directly fly in. It was obvious that the owner of the spaceship had an extraordinary background. Chapter 588. Firecrackers and candies were sprinkled all the way to the entrance of the Lin residence. As the spaceship in the sky gradually landed, the surrounding area was already filled with onlookers. Everyone from the Lin family gathered in front of the entrance, looking at the lively scene with smiles on their faces. They were extremely excited. With such a special betrothal gift and such a commotion in the city, those who didn't know would think that the Lin family was marrying off their daughter today. In fact, they were just here to deliver the betrothal gifts. At this moment, while everyone was exclaiming and discussing, a handsome young man in a red robe walked out of the spaceship. The young man's appearance was outstanding and peerlessly handsome. There was a wanton expression between his eyebrows. As soon as he appeared, the surrounding people exclaimed and looked at him in amazement. Look, that young man is so handsome. What a handsome young man. Whose young man is this? His temperament is really extraordinary. I wonder if this young man is already taken? In the midst of everyone's discussion, Feng Jiu, dressed in red, stepped out of the spaceship. As she walked down, Old Man Gung, Lung Shuang, Luo Yu, and the others followed behind her. Other than Lung Shuang, who was dressed in black, the 8 Phoenix Guard were all dressed in the same silver robes. They were handsome and exuded a fierce aura, like a sharp sword that was about to be drawn. It was very intimidating. Surrounded by these people, the young man in red walking in front was even more dazzling. With a clear distinction between master and servant, everyone could tell at a glance that the young and handsome young man was the master of these people. Grandpa Lin, I'm here to deliver the betrothal gifts on behalf of my grandfather. Fengjiu said with a smile as she stepped forward and cupped her hands together until she arrived in front of them. Ha, so it's Xiaojiu. Lin Boheng originally wanted to call her little Feng, but seeing that she was still dressed in men's clothes, he changed it to Xiaojiu. At the same time, his gaze swept past her and looked at Old Man Geng. This is my grandfather's good friend, Old Man Geng of Yinhua City. This time, he was asked by my grandfather and father to come with me. Fengjiu introduced the two with a smile. Patriarch Lin, I've heard a lot about you. Old Master Geng cupped his hands and smiled. He had only heard about Lin Boheng from the Feng family's girl on the way here. He admired this person's style and temperament. Hearing this, Lin Boheng smiled and returned the greeting. You're a good friend to San Yuan. Please come in. Xiaojiu, Brother Geng, please come in. He made a gesture of invitation and invited them in. Fengjiu smiled and walked inside with Old Man Geng. Lung Shuang followed closely behind. The 8 Phoenix Guards stayed behind and ordered the accompanying people to carry the betrothal gifts to the Lin Mansion. When the onlookers saw the boxes of betrothal gifts being carried to the Lin Mansion, they were all amazed. This is just a betrothal gift. I thought they were here to welcome the bride. Isn't this wedding ceremony a little too grand? What do you know? It said that the bride of the Lin family is a girl called Su Shi, the sister of Patriarch Lin. She's married to the retired emperor of the Phoenix dynasty. It said that the Phoenix dynasty is a newly risen dynasty, and the retired emperor and Patriarch Lin are sworn brothers. Who is that young man in red? Is he the prince of the Phoenix dynasty? Chapter 589. Outside, the crowd was discussing as they looked at the chests of betrothal gifts being carried into the Lin Mansion. They were all praising the extravagance of the betrothal gifts. There were at least 100 chests of betrothal gifts. It was really exciting. Inside, other than the main members of the Lin clan, the women folk were not allowed to enter the main hall. Instead, they had the guards clear out a space and place the 100 chests of betrothal gifts in the courtyard in front of the main hall. The 100 chests of betrothal gifts filled the entire courtyard, making the women folk envious. In the hall, the head of the Lin family, Lin Boheng, was sitting in the main seat. Fengjiu and Old Master Geng were sitting in the first and second seats below him. Lin Qingji was sitting below them. On the lower right were several elders and his other sons. Last Feng, what day did you choose? Why did you send the betrothal gifts so quickly? Where's your grandfather? Why didn't he come? Lin Boheng asked. In fact, he did not care if the person who sent the betrothal gifts was Old Master Feng. He just thought that Old Master Feng would come, but he did not, so he asked. Fengjiu looked at him and said with a smile, The day has been chosen. It's December 13th. We came to send the betrothal gifts on this auspicious day. As for my grandfather, he has been cultivating in seclusion since he went back. Now he has broken through the martial grandmaster realm and entered the martial emperor realm. He wants to break through again and enter the martial venerable realm soon. Therefore, only Old Master Geng and I can send the betrothal gifts. Speaking of this, she smiled and cupped her hands, saying, If there's anything wrong, I hope Grandpa Lin and everyone can forgive me. Ha, of course not. Lin Boheng laughed loudly, but he was surprised. He asked, San Yuan entered the martial emperor realm not long after he went back? How could it be so fast? Entering the martial venerable realm in such a short time? That's impossible, right? Hearing this, Fengjiu said with a smile, I also told him to act according to his ability. Whether he can advance or not is one thing. It's fine as long as he does his best. Yes, it's fine as long as he does his best. He cares too much about the world opinion. He shook his head and smiled. Then, he looked at Old Master Geng and said, I'm sorry to trouble you this time, Brother Geng. You must rest well in the mansion for 2 days. It's no trouble at all. It's my honor to deliver the betrothal gifts on behalf of San Yuan. Old Master Geng said with a smile. After they chatted for a while, the Phoenix Guard came in and reported that the 100 boxes of betrothal gift had all been moved in. Only then did he take out the list of betrothal gifts and walked forward to present it with both hands. Patriarch Lin, this is the list of betrothal gifts. Please follow me outside to check and hand over the betrothal gifts. All right, then let's go together. Lin Boheng nodded his head and gestured to the elders. Then they walked out together. When they arrived outside and saw the piles of boxes in the courtyard, they all smiled. The Lin family had seen hundreds of boxes of betrothal gifts before. However, the fact that they could take out hundreds of boxes of betrothal gifts showed how much importance they attached to this marriage. This made the Lin family feel very gratified. Not to mention the betrothal gifts. Just the fact that they sent the betrothal gifts into the city was enough to make the Lin family proud. Chapter 590. As the crowd listened to Old Man Gung recite the names of the treasures, they saw the guards carrying the boxes and opening them. They were filled with dazzling jewels and treasures. The dazzling light flashed in their eyes, causing them to exclaim inwardly, "Southern sea pearls, Rui golden jades." The boxes were all open in front of them. Even though they were already mentally prepared, they were still excited as Old Man Gung counted the items. 100 boxes of treasures, silks, antiques, and precious herbs were all sealed and carried to the Lin family storeroom. When there was only one box left, Old Man Gung paused and looked at Fengjiu. Under her signal, he cleared his throat. The last box, 100 bottles of precious medicine. Hearing this, the Lin family was stunned and looked at each other. What did he mean? 100 bottles of precious medicine? Was it fake? The Phoenix dynasty was only a small 9th-tier country. Where did he get 100 bottles of precious medicine? It should be ordinary medicine. He was too embarrassed to say it, so he directly said it was precious medicine. Everyone had different expressions. No one took it seriously. After all, 100 bottles of precious medicine was too unbelievable. It was impossible. This continued until the last box was brought forward. When the box was opened, the top and bottom layers each contained 50 bottles of medicine. At this moment, when they saw the 100 bottles of medicine, everyone's expression was still strange. Seeing everyone's expression, Fengjiu did not say much. She only revealed a meaningful smile. She did not explain and only quietly watched as the box was closed, sealed, and carried into the storeroom. Only Lin Qingji noticed the meaningful smile on her lips. He didn't say anything, but he thought to himself. After the handover, the Lin family held a banquet to entertain them. During the banquet, Sushi also appeared to entertain them and arranged a place for them to rest. After the banquet, Fengjiu came to Sushi's courtyard and talked with her for a while. He told her that old Master Feng was currently cultivating. If grandfather wasn't cultivating, he would have come personally. He told me to tell Aunt Su she not to blame him. Fengjiu looked at the gentle woman in front of him with a smile. Sushi had a sweet expression and replied, "Yes, I know. When you go back, tell him to take care of his body. Don't tire himself out." Fengjiu smiled and gave her the list of betrothal gifts. "This is for Aunt Sushi. Aunt, keep it well." "Okay." She took it and said, "You've worked hard. Go back and rest early. I'll come and have breakfast with you tomorrow." "Okay, then I'll go back first." Sushi smiled and turned to leave. As for the other side of the courtyard, Lin Qingji had been puzzled when he thought of the smile on Feng Ix's face when they handed over the betrothal gifts today. Those 100 bottles of medicine were just ordinary medicine. If it was ordinary medicine, they wouldn't send it as a betrothal gift. But if it was really precious medicine, it shouldn't be possible. After all, rare medicine was so rare that every bottle was priceless. How could they get 100 bottles in one go? Yes, it doesn't seem possible. He muttered in a low voice that only he could hear. Chapter 591. I'm thinking about the betrothal gifts. Go to sleep. Don't wait for me. He waved his hand, wondering if he should go talk to his father. Betrothal gifts? That's ants. What are you worrying about? The first madam couldn't help but laugh. You don't understand. As he spoke, he walked around the room with his hands behind his back. I'll go talk to my father. As he spoke, he wanted to go out but was stopped. The first madam looked at him helplessly. Look at the time now. Is there anything that can't wait until tomorrow? Besides, the betrothal gifts have already been sealed and put in the storeroom. The guests are still in the manor. If you're worrying about the betrothal gifts, who knows what they'll think? Lin Qingji was startled. He looked at her and asked, "What do they think?" He just felt that something was wrong and wanted to talk to his father. "Husband, the betrothal gifts are for Aunt. Even if it's my father, he won't touch them. When the time comes, he'll definitely let Aunt bring them back to the Phoenix dynasty to give her face. So I think that you shouldn't worry about this matter." Father didn't say anything. "Even if there is something, it's my father's business, not yours." Her voice paused. "You're only a nephew. There's a generation between you." After hearing her words, Lin Qingji thought about it and gave up. "Forget it. We'll talk about it after they leave. Now that the guests are in the manor, it's not good to talk about the betrothal gifts." He suppressed the matter. However, he still remembered the 100 bottles of medicine. He felt that it was better to find an opportunity to take a look. The next morning, after Feng Jiao and Su Shi had breakfast, Feng Jiao, Old Man Geng, Lung Shuang, and 8 Phoenix guards went out. Su Shi, who had been here before, wanted to show them around and see the prosperity of Three River City. When Lin Buoheng was about to call Feng Jiao and chat with Old Man Geng, he was told that they had left early in the morning to go sightseeing. No one went with them? Lin Buoheng asked with a frown. He felt that this wasn't proper hospitality. "Big brother." Su Shi walked in. Hearing his words, she smiled and said, "I originally wanted to accompany them, but Feng Girl said that she had been here before and was familiar with this place, so she took them out herself. I saw that there were many of them, so I didn't follow. It's rude to let the guests wander around the city by themselves." Lin Buoheng said and shook his head. "It's okay, we're family," Su Shi said with a smile. She held his hand and said, "Big brother, I heard that the 100 boxes of betrothal gifts dazzled many people in the clan." "Ha, I haven't seen it yet." Ha. You don't have to worry. Those are all yours. Big brother won't touch them. At that time, besides this betrothal gift, Big brother will also prepare one for you. Moreover, your other brothers have also said that they will also prepare one for you. Also, your nephews will also prepare one for you. At that time, your dowry will only be more, not less. We will definitely let you get married in a grand manner." "Big brother, that's not what I meant." She couldn't help but laugh. She was very touched when she heard her brothers say that they had all prepared a dowry for her. Lin Buoheng laughed and said, "Feng Girl and the others sent the betrothal gifts so suddenly that I didn't have time to inform father and mother. However, when you get married, they will definitely rush back." Chapter 592. Their parents were over 100 years old, and both of them were very healthy. They did not live in the main house, but lived with their sons for a period of time. Therefore, they had not been in the main house for the past few months. However, they knew about this marriage. "Big brother, since the wedding is on the 13th of December, let father, mother, and my brothers come back together," she said with a smile. Thinking that she could see them again, she was very happy. The family was big, and the children would split up after they grew up. The heir of the main house was the eldest son, Lin Buoheng. As for the other brothers, they split up and set up their own houses. Because they were not in the same city, the family could only gather together when there was a big event. I got someone to spread the news as early as yesterday. They should be here tomorrow at the latest." "That's good." She nodded and smiled. "I'll go back first. I haven't finished embroidering the Mandarin duck pillowcase yet." Hearing that, he shook his head and waved his hand, indicating for her to go back. As for the other side, Feng Jiao took them to wander around Three River City until noon. They entered the second floor of a restaurant and booked 2 tables to sit down and order some food and wine. "Grandpa Geng, will my grandfather come to Three River City to pick up the bride, or what?" she asked curiously as she poured wine for him. Old Man Geng stroked his beard and said, "We'll go back and discuss this with the Lin family. Three River City is far from where we are. If they come to pick up the bride, I'm afraid something might happen on the way. Therefore, the best way is to bring them to Yunus City in advance and wait for an auspicious day to bring them to the palace. He paused and said, "We'll talk about this here. As for the final decision, we'll have to discuss it with the Lin family." "Okay," she nodded. It was indeed the right thing to do. After eating in the restaurant, they went out for a few rounds. It was not until evening that they returned to the Lin family to discuss how to pick up the bride. Hearing Old Man Gung's words, Lin Bohung nodded in agreement. "Yes, that's true. This place is far from the Phoenix dynasty. Even the airship will take 2 days. If we come here to pick up the bride, it will be really inconvenient." He paused for a moment before continuing. "How about this? When the time comes, we will send her off. You can first find a place for us to stay in Yunyue City. When the auspicious day comes, just let San Yuan come and pick her up. This way, it will be convenient for both sides. It will also save a lot of trouble and reduce the number of accidents." Upon hearing this, Feng Jiao and Old Master Gung looked at each other and said in unison, "That's better. We naturally agree." "Well, it's settled then." Lin Bohung laughed loudly. After that, Feng Jiao mentioned going back the next day. Knowing that they were leaving, Lin Bohung asked, "Aren't you going to stay for one more day? My father and mother have already rushed back. They should arrive tomorrow at the latest." Feng Jiao smiled and said, "There will definitely be opportunities to meet them in the future. The journey back and forth is also long, so I think it's better for me to go back early so that they won't miss me." "All right then. Since that's the case, I won't keep you. I'll send you off tomorrow morning." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.